Welcome back to WRPL, the podcast where we talk about all the things we are watching, reading, playing, and listening to. My name's Ben.
And I'm Steve.
Ooh, episode 30, a big one. A movie that we've been just dying to see, wrapped in anticipation.
Just couldn't wait.
It keeps getting pushed back in the pandemic. Like, we should have seen this movie forever ago, but finally... Morbius is here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, that's our main topic.
The best Batman movie to come out this year.
As always, spoilers for anything and everything that ever will be. So, that's your warning. Don't have a lot to talk about this week, even though it's been a while since we recorded. I got so much Morbius bouncing around in my head, I can't make room for any other content.
I mean, when it's something this worthy to talk about, you know, with so many ideas and themes to break down, it's really hard to just compartmentalize all the other stuff you may have consumed this week.
It's a cultural touchstone, and movies will not be the same after this.
Nor should they be.
We can't go back.
But until we talk about Morbius, let's talk about some other stuff we've seen.
Okay, all right.
Or listened to, or played.
I know we're both playing Disco Elysium, but we are not in any place to talk about that game.
No. There's a guy at work who I convinced to get the game as well, and so he's playing it, but he is farther than I am. And he told me one day, he's like, yeah, man, like, I found out who the killer is, and there's still, like, more game to play, so I don't know where it's going to go. And then he saw me the next day. He's like, you know how I told you I knew who the killer was? Boy, I was wrong, man. It's just like, this is taking so many twists and turns. So it's like, he's actually, like, gotten me even, like, more excited because apparently there's some stuff coming down the line. But I'm, like, still in the very early stages of this game, so.
Now, are you doing the thing that I have done in so many games where you get the dialogue tree and you need to listen to everything?
I was for a long period of time. And then if I could tell that, like, this dialogue tree is just kind of spinning its wheels, I'll kind of skip through it. Like, I'll go back and, like, I might speed read, but I don't always listen to everything. Because sometimes you can just tell, like, okay, this is just a conversation for the sake of conversation. But if it specifically has to do, where I feel like it has to do with a case or just something interesting that I might need for one of the side quests, I'll listen to everything. But yeah, I feel like I play a game for 4 hours, and I don't know if I really accomplished, like, that much stuff. Because most of this, I mean, 90% of this game is just dialogue. So, but it's still super interesting.
It is very interesting. And I, like with all games, I always do a search of things you should probably know before starting this game. Because I hate going in blind, and I like having just a little bit of leg up. So I did that for this, and they were saying, if you really want to enjoy this game as it should be, only do the dialogue that interests you and how you want to play this character. And because I'm playing this character as a big, loud, drunken asshole, I get to pick all the, like, really obnoxious prompts that I would never pick normally, because I always play games as a nice human being. And so it's nice being able to go, like, well, I'm not going to pick that one because that makes me too nice of a person. Like, no, I'm just going to be a big scumbag.
Yeah, I have a hard time doing that in games. I always want to be the nicest person possible. And, like, it's weird because here's a character where, so you went big dummy, I went with troubled genius. Like, so I'm super, super smart, but I still have, like, this alcohol streak, and I'm subscribing to this dude's race theory or whatever, so I can try and get past him, so I can click a button on a door, whatever. So, but so I'm getting, like, I'm trying to be Sherlock of it all, but I still feel like I'm constantly making the wrong choices. And it's like, oh, so I'm smart, but I'm not that smart, and I'm, like, trying to be nice, but everyone's just like, well, you're a drunken asshole, so what do I care? So it's like, no matter what I do, I feel like I'm failing. And I was like, I do this on the daily in real life. Why am I playing it like this? I should have just been the big dumb guy and just knock people out. Especially Kuno, that little bastard.
Oh, yeah.
The little kid.
Oh, God, I want to hit him so bad. But we're not talking about this.
We'll talk about it when we finish.
Yeah. And I heard it's like, if you power through it, it's still like a 30-hour game.
Yeah.
And if you do extensive stuff, it's about a 60-hour game, and if you try to do everything, it's like a 90-hour game.
Which is weird, because just from how far I've gotten from looking at the map, it doesn't seem like it's a big game. It's just there's...
Did you steal the map or buy the map?
I ended up buying a map, I think.
I don't think I have enough money to buy the map right now.
I was able to collect some funds.
Yeah, I'm able to find money, but I know you can get a bag so you can collect bottles, but I haven't been able to find that bag yet. And I'll go into
I'm pretty sure the bag is just on the ground somewhere on the map. I could be wrong. I can't remember exactly where I got it, but it didn't cost me anything. It was just like, oh, here's a bag.
I'll go into a section, and it's like I'm using the right joystick. Like, where is everything? Okay,
yeah.
There's nothing else here. And then I'll come back to it, and then something will show up. Like, how did I miss this? Was I just like a millimeter off from detecting it? So I feel like I'm doing so much backtracking because right now the map isn't all that big, and I'm about to like get someplace else, and so you feel like, shit, am I missing a hidden door somewhere? Or like, I know I can't do something until Wednesday. It's only Monday, and I'm like, am I gonna have to spend 2 days of just constantly redoing the same bullshit? Oh well, I could sleep on a bench and pass some time, but my partner can't be there, so I'm going around like, how do I get rid of this dude?
Yeah, I think I did 90% of the stuff you could do till Wednesday on the first day, and then Tuesday rolled around, I did the other 10%, and then I spent a good like hour and a half just like walking around trying to find anything to do, or like, okay, I haven't talked to this person in a while, maybe they have some new information, they didn't, or whatever, like there might have been a new question I could ask them, but it didn't lead anywhere, and yeah, so it's just, and like I got back in the car to call the police station, I was like, maybe they have something for me to say, and they're just like, so I'm just like, I think I need to go to sleep because there's nothing for me to do until that bridge comes down. But we're not talking about Disco.
Yeah, we're not talking. All right. I only have a few things. They're not that long. I don't really have. I don't want to spoil some, and some are just recommendations. So, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I'll talk about two. Well, we won't talk about them, but it's just two shows that I started that we'll talk about down the line. Human Resources, the spinoff of Big Mouth. I started that. I'm 3 episodes in.
Okay.
Not as funny so far.
Yeah.
But
you really need the kids.
Yeah, I love Maury and Maya Rudolph's Hormone Monster's name is slipping my mind at the moment.
Oh God.
Connie.
Yes.
Yeah. They're both always still great. I love when they're on screen. I like the Logic Monster played by, or not the Logic Monster, the Logic Rock by Randall Park. I think he's fun. And I'm a big A.D. Bryan fan, but I don't really care about her character, and she's the main one.
Yeah, she's obnoxious.
Yeah, but it's a fun concept, and I'm hoping it finds its footing in maybe just like the first year slump. But yeah, I think the kids make the gross humor kind of charming and acceptable because like we've all been like, that's the point of Big Mouth is we've all been through this awkward phase where we're trying to navigate this very adult thing, where this is just like, oh, these are just bad adults who are just gross all the time, which isn't always fun.
And there's no John Mulaney, you know?
No.
And if John Mulaney or Jenny Slate is, I mean, maybe she does a voice or something, but like I want to hear Nick Kroll doing Lola, you know? I want to hear these voices, and when it's just kind of Maury and what's the dried up one? Rick. Yeah. And there's no Coach Steve. You know? It's just like, I love all these characters. You take them out and you put in a bunch that don't really satisfy my needs. I don't know if I'm going to come back to it. I only got through, I don't think I even finished episode 2. I think I turned it off. Really, that first episode when now, one thing I'll applaud the show is they don't shy away from showing anything. They're willing to do very graphic stuff, and in that first episode we see like a birth, and me and my roommate just kind of like lost our shit. Like, my God, nobody wanted to see that. And you know me when it comes to birth and pregnant women, that really soured me on this show. I mean, Jay could be a cum bender in one episode, and it's like, wow, that's really gross, but I can deal with it. Seeing an animated birth, no thank you.
Well, yeah, because then you're doing, here's this fantastical thing versus here's this very real thing that is, I assume, anatomical. I did see a health video once, which has traumatized me. Like,
what grade?
7th,
yeah,
I believe. So I was in middle school. It was either 6th or 7th. I believe it was 7th. And the teacher was like, oh, we're going to watch this video because we were doing the babysitting egg thing, whatever.
I never had to do that.
And all of a sudden, like, on the TV screen, there was a vagina, and then all of a sudden there was something coming out of it, and all of us had, I don't know kids at that time, but like at that point I had never seen a vagina, at least in that regard, and man, that was a shock because I feel I don't remember there being any preparation. I'm sure she was just like, just so you know, guys, we're gonna watch this thing and blah blah blah, but it's beautiful. I'm sure she like made it sound nice, but it was disgusting. I'll never forget the shock and like, whoa, like of the entire classroom when that thing happened. Because I've never forgotten it.
We all knew it. That was like the prize at the end, that we were going to see a birth, because so all the boys are just kind of like, oh yeah, we're going to see a real vagina at school, this is going to be so awesome. And then
I wonder if they even do that anymore. I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think they do.
Probably not. Maybe there'd be an animatic or something. But yeah, everybody's like color drained from their face, and it was just like, this is not what we signed up for.
Honestly, that might be the best sex education you could get. It's like, if you want your kids to not have sex, show them a birthing video.
Yeah, show actual STDs and things like that, instead of just talking about them. And being truthful about everything is the best way you can do it. But just saying it's dirty and bad and God will make you blind.
We're getting on the whole thing. I just meant like things are gross.
So we recommend, good sex education for young students. And that's the show. Let's wrap it up there. I think that's all we need to say.
This is now a sex education podcast.
Oh, who's better at telling people about, biology than us, two movie nerds? Do you have anything else to say about Human Resources?
Yeah, I mean, I'll finish the season. It's a good, we'll watch it as we eat dinner or whatever, just to like...
Probably one of the worst shows to watch while you're eating.
Yeah, but we're not, when it comes to that kind of stuff, I'm not particularly squeamish, but it's just something. It's 30 minutes and it's over. Like that's pretty much why we watch it, and we're not really watching a ton of other shows at the moment. So yeah, I'll finish it, but if it doesn't improve more, I probably won't care about a season 2.
Okay.
But I still love Big Mouth.
Yeah.
And then the other show that has started up that we'll talk about down the line, Disney's Moon Knight.
Yeah. We're 2 episodes in?
Yeah. Okay. New episode...
Wednesdays.
Wednesdays? Yeah.
Yep.
What do you think so far?
I'm enjoying it. It's the Marvel show that hasn't won me over instantly. Even ones that I don't love in the end, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I was pretty game for from the get-go. And I don't know
this is the first Disney show that's a new character who hasn't been introduced anywhere else, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
As far as I can recall. Yes.
Yeah.
And that could be it. I don't know much about Moon Knight. I just knew he was crazier Batman.
Yeah.
So being unfamiliar may have a part of it, but, I'm unfamiliar with a lot of movies that I watch. So that shouldn't be it. And the acting is really great. I think Oscar Isaac is killing it. But I don't know. I think when the week starts, I'm looking forward to Halo more than I'm looking forward to Moon Knight. And I'm a Marvel fanboy shill,
Yeah.
And I don't care about the Halo the game, so it's weird for me to think that.
I'm not as huge a Marvel fanboy as you, but I obviously do enjoy Marvel stuff. And I agree that Oscar Isaac is doing great stuff on this show. But I'm worried that like the show is just surviving on how good he is, because the rest of the show hasn't really blown me away yet.
Yeah.
I didn't love the first episode because I like how he will wake up somewhere else. Like I love that kind of stuff.
With the broken jaw,
like the schizophrenia stuff, like or the memory, whatever, personality.
It's DID, dissociative identity disorder.
So I like all that stuff, and. But him going down that mountain in a car and it just seemed like I was watching a cartoon. Like the whole thing was just ridiculous. And like I think the idea of, I'm about to be killed and then jumping ahead in time and then it's like, I dealt with the situation, but I don't remember how you dealt with it. I think that's fun, but a lot of the just how the chase sequence was and a lot of the special effects were like really bad. And I just didn't love the first episode. The second episode I liked a bit more.
Sure.
And Comic-Con is just going to be filled with that white suit movement. Mr. Knight, I think. Mr. Knight. Awesome looking. Awesome. I would much rather wear that superhero costume than the like Batman version. There's this Assassin's Creed looking thing. Very cool suit. That being said, it did the classic thing of action movies where I'm just going to throw the hero around everywhere, or I'll like just that like no one ever fights anybody in these fucking things.
Yeah,
it's always just
thrown.
like you get thrown around because you have to like extend the fight sequence, and it's just so fucking boring. And it's like not only did you just throw them around, he was invisible, so there's no reason to just try and kill the person, or whatever. I don't know. It's a nitpick, but it's just one of those things like I'm just so tired of seeing, especially since superhero movies are the big thing. And so we see so many action sequences. So obviously you're probably going to repeat yourself here and there, but like every single one has this like, let me just toss him over here. I'll toss him over here. It's like, don't you have superpowers?
Yeah, just
like,
rip his throat out.
Like there's no reason for the demon jackal from Egyptian hell to waste any time trying to kill you. Just cut Moon Knight's head off.
Yeah.
It's so simple, but it's like, nope, gotta toss him around because I gotta show him a lesson or whatever. And we need him alive, or I just don't care.
If it's hey, throw him around, rough him up because we need to get information out of him, and you're pretty much torturing him, okay, fine, you could throw him around. But if the whole thing is kill this guy, why are you doing that? It was the same thing that happened in Terminator Salvation that drove me nuts. Like, you're a Terminator. You're here to kill John Connor, to kill Kyle Reese, and you catch up to him and you just throw him across the room so they can get the liquid nitrogen gun or whatever. I don't know. I can't remember what happens in it. It's so dumb. No, you're a Terminator. You would walk up, you would crush his throat. Yeah, you would just like grab any part of their body, squeeze, break it, and while they're in pain, you stomp on their face.
Yeah,
that's your job.
Or like, I'd like to see a Terminator movie where they just like punch him in the face and just like instantly kind of like cave it in.
Yeah.
Like I want to see a super fucked up Terminator movie. Like if you're gonna do Terminator again, hard R that shit and like make it like. I don't want to say gruesome, but make it like rough, especially if you're leaning into like, oh, now we're in the Terminator wars.
Well, they can't even sell tickets to the last 3 Terminator movies with PG-13. I mean, so we ain't getting an R in.
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to see another Terminator movie.
It's done.
That franchise should be done along with Alien and other stuff.
All franchises are done. Like Star Trek is complete shit. Star Wars is shit now. It's like every big major franchise just has gone to crap, and maybe you could even say the same with Marvel. I don't think so. I think they still give enough quality to justify their existence. But like the Harry Potter universe, it's not good anymore. And now Terminator, we're never going to get another Terminator.
It's incredible when the only two, and I'm sure there's others that I'm just kind of spacing on. I mean, I guess Bond's still successful.
Sure.
But
at least it's allowed to reinvent itself.
Yeah, but it reinvents itself, yeah. But,
whereas now everything is just like, no, everything's canon, or this is, but this isn't. Like, there's going to be a new Alien TV show, or an Alien TV show and a Predator TV show, and it's just like, just dragging these dead horses through the mud to try to get any sort of meat off of them. I mean, I'll watch them both,
Yeah.
for punishment.
Hopefully the good thing that would come out of this would be, okay, franchises aren't working anymore. Maybe we should just try making original, interesting content. So hopefully that's a thing, but it's just crazy to me that the only successful franchises now seem to be Marvel and the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Yeah.
Of all the franchises that have stood the test of time.
Did you see who's casted in the next one?
Wild.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they put Brie Larson in, because she has such a negative fan base. There's so many people who just don't like her because wokeism, feminism, they hate that so much that they have to project it all onto one actress. So I can see studios going like, maybe not her. We don't have she doesn't have as big of a fan base as maybe some other actresses, but I guess it makes sense. Is she going to be Dom's long lost sister, half sister?
I don't care.
John Cena's girlfriend. Ew, that's gross. Yeah, I don't want to think of that.
Yeah, or Charlize Theron's daughter or something, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like, it's weird that, like, I would consider Charlize bigger than Brie Larson, but when Charlize, like, was, they added her to the cast, I was like, okay, I can kind of see that. But Brie Larson coming in is a casting I never thought I'd see, because, like, obviously they have other Oscar winners in these movies, but it's like, this girl won an Oscar for Room and is now a huge Marvel superhero. It's like, did they just offer a ton of money? Or did she actually was like, oh, no, I think the Fast and Furious movies are great. I can't wait to be part of it. Like, I want to get behind a car and just tear shit up. Which, don't be wrong, like, I think it would be a ton of fun.
Yeah.
But,
do something fun with her. Like, don't make her a crazy good hacker or a super spy. Make her, like, the first female NASCAR driver. And they're like, we need someone who can drive faster than anybody else, and they recruit her. Make her a fun character. Don't put her in this dark web of mystery that everybody comes from. Like, every character that they add is just like some mysterious bad guy, and haven't we had enough of those?
Mm-hmm. Part of some shadow organization, and yada yada yada.
I could see like the Jason Momoa.
Yeah,
he works for that
of
series.
Course,
yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
I'm surprised, and maybe they've approached him about it, and he's just like, no.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, if you need big dudes and The Rock's not coming back, there's not many big dudes left. It's like Batista or Jason Momoa. Like, who else would you get?
Yeah. The Fast series is definitely one that I think would be so much better if we could go back in time and know where it was ending up, so you can plant seeds better, because Dom having a secret brother this whole time is stupid, especially since we know he has a sister and he's never mentioned before. Especially how every movie after 6 and on, it's always a doomsday device of some kind. And I remember seeing a tweet saying they should have, like in the last one or maybe even the one before it, let the device go off and let the world kind of go to ruin. So then for the future movies, you have kind of a neat stage where how do you get a little more Mad Maxy because the world is done, or semblance of society is still around and they're trying to pull it up and it's harder to get gas so you can go fast. And it's just something more than stop the thing, we save the day. Okay, now the bad guy's a good guy and is on our team. Oh, here's another doomsday device. Here's God's Eye 2.
That would be funny if they did make it a post, like it's the thing that leads into Mad Max. Sure. And like the Furiosa is a descendant from Cypher from Fast and Furious. And the reason that they took V8s and vehicles as their gods was because like Dom and his team were the leaders who's like over time, like their legend of like, wow, these great drivers, they're the ones who saved us from extinction or whatever. It's like
they're delivering supplies. They're
and it just becomes
cops.
This weird fusion of these.
They're
two
the
movies.
Robin Hoods of this post-apocalyptic world. It's something
it's there.
Look at it's like, I know people joked about like, oh, they should meet the dinosaurs and make it a Jurassic World crossover. Don't need that. Don't need any of that. But do something different than just, well, what's another big thing we could jump a car over illogically?
Yeah.
What's the other big weapon of mass destruction?
When that Brie Larson news came out, I saw on Reddit, someone made a post like, where do you go from space travel?
Yeah.
Well, in Fast 10 your seatbelts, it should be time travel, and Dom goes back in time to recruit his younger self to bring to the future to help them like pull off whatever heist or mission they have to do, because like maybe someone on the team dies, or just like there's no one better than me and I can't drive because maybe his legs are broken or something. Who do we get? We get me. And they go back in time to get young Dom.
And Ludacris just is like, oh yeah, I could whip up a time machine. Yeah. I'm the tech guy.
Me and
I've seen these movies once.
Ludacris and Masende.
Yeah,
they've had a secret project where it's like they've been working on time travel. We're like, oh, we hacked into this government system. We found out there's a project Fasten or whatever.
It'd be like Project Fast, but what it's like futuristic, aerodynamic, space travel, something like that. You know?
Space and time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And then you get Doc Brown there, and he has the DeLorean, and it's like you need to get up to, instead of 88 miles an hour, it's 188, and it's like you can drive faster than Dominic Toretto. This is so stupid.
Yeah.
It's like it's the only franchise where the dumber you get, you go like, oh, I'd see that.
The better it is. Yeah, absolutely. But it needs to be.
We were talking about Moon Knight a second ago.
yeah. We're a bit into this, and I haven't even talked about any of my stuff.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
Yeah. Fast and Furious. Can't wait. Okay, well, I also, going back to Human Resources, I also have a cartoon show to recommend. It was season 3 of Disenchantment on Netflix.
I am 4 episodes into that, and it's been a struggle for me to keep going.
Oh, are you caught up to season 3, or are you starting from the beginning?
No, they're on season 4 now.
Oh, is it 4?
Yeah. I watched the first 3 seasons.
I'm sorry, season 4 is what I watched.
Yeah. And I started season 4, and it's one of those shows where it's like, I don't know what it is about the season. I can't get into it.
Okay.
Not that it's bad. It's just I don't know. It's just not striking a chord with me.
I think with every season, you kind of have to chug along a bit before it gets going. The first season was a little rough for me. After it was done, I didn't think I was going to continue. But season 2 was pretty fun. The thing I love about this show is they're very good at setting things up way in advance and not having them pay off until much, much later. Like, take the elves. Our main elf character is named Elfo. Well, all the elves are named Smilo, Fisto, Gaspo. It's all something.
Yeah.
And I always thought, like, well, why is his name Elfo? That doesn't make any sense. They're all elves. But that makes sense later. They actually have an answer for it.
I did watch that origin story episode, which I thought was good. I like that episode.
They just have a lot of really neat little things sprinkled in that pay off later. And it shows how much Matt Groening really thought about this world before jumping into it.
But at the same time, I could see that, we'll name him Elfo because that'll be funny. And then...
How do we write ourselves out of it?
Yeah. They just kind of came up with that.
And if that's the case, that's good writing. Yeah. They're able to do that. But there's it just seems like there's small hints to people's pasts that come into play later. I really enjoy this show. I love Abby Jacobson. I see it's like because they use their real names in Broad City. I'm always like, is it Abby Abrams? No, that's the show where Abby Jacobson. I love her as this character. I like
Bean.
Yeah, I like Bean. I like Lucy. I like Elfo. They're all extremely funny.
Elfo's definitely my favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good. At first, I thought he was just going to be a big weenie. I mean, he kind of is.
Yeah.
But he's kind of aware of it, and
I think when he sticks up for himself or when he gets kind of sassy, like it's always really funny.
Yeah. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube as normal.
Sure.
I saw a thumbnail for it. Just said Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3. What would happen? And it's from a YouTube channel called Our Movie Review, and it looks like pretty much everything on their channel is DC movie stuff, which is fine. I don't need to watch every single one of his things because I watched his ranking of all 11 DC movies, and he had the Suicide Squad pretty low, and Birds of Prey is the worst. So I don't know if this guy really knows what he's talking about, but he seems to be a super fan of Zack Snyder's Justice League. And he had, I don't know if they were spec scripts or just any information that was released of what would happen if Zack Snyder got to continue. And it is if after Justice League we had Aquaman and a Cyborg and a Flash and a Batman movie, because their villains in their own standalone movies come into play for part 2. And it's pretty much, we've seen it before. There was a Superman animated movie not too long ago that kind of dealt with this, but pretty much Lex Luthor gathers up all the villains to create the, not Doom Patrol, Legion of Doom, and he's working with Darkseid to take over, get the anti-life equation. I guess Riddler has figured out the anti-life equation, and he kind of went crazy and he blew his brains out.
Wait, the Riddler did?
The Riddler did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was just like no one could get a hold of this. This is the end of the universe, and he kills himself. It's pretty cool. But he pretty much tells Darkseid, you want to make Superman kneel, you got to take care of Lois. So he opens up a portal and just blasts Lois and disintegrates her. And she was pregnant with his baby. So Superman goes apeshit. He goes mad. That whole thing. And now he's a servant of Darkseid. And it goes through Dr. Poison.
So this is the movie that came out, or this is the pitch for...
This is the pitch for 2.
Got it.
And so Dr. Poison spreads poison all over Themyscira, kills all the Amazons. Black Manta and Oceanmancer behead Aquaman, and they kill off our heroes. Cyborg is blown apart. The Flash is able to save himself, and Batman's able to save himself.
Of course.
And so by the end, it's kind of, which I know you haven't seen, but the nightmare sequence in Batman versus Superman. So there was a scene like that at the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League, where it is Mira and Cyborg and Deathstroke, and I think in this it's supposed to be Deadshot, Batman and Flash, and they're like, we're going to go do this thing, and Green Lantern comes down to help save the day, and their whole plot is, we're going to go back in time to stop this, and we have to do it on this day, because if we do it 6 months from now, the Earth is in a completely different spot. So if Flash goes back in time, he's going to just like appear in outer space. So we have to do it right here because the Earth is in the exact location we need. And so he's like, what do I need to tell you, Batman, in order to stop this? And Lois, you know, like I said, she was pregnant. She's actually pregnant with Bruce's baby.
Oh, shit.
So they got together after Superman died, and you know, Batman's like, you can't tell him, he'll go nuts and yada yada yada. So Batman tells Flash, you know, say the baby is yours. I guess he didn't know, or something along the lines.
Yeah.
So then when they go back in time, it's when Darkseid appeared. Batman pushes Lois Lane out of the way. He gets disintegrated, and Superman sees his girl is okay, but Batman just died, and he just wrecks house and destroys him, and all the heroes are able to like overcome their villains and save the day. And then in the future, Lois Lane's baby is growing up, and Wonder Woman's like, we need a new Batman. And then eventually it's a flash forward, and Lois Lane and Bruce Wayne's son is the new Batman. And it's really interesting, especially the second one, because they just like kill everyone. Like, Wonder Woman's dead, Aquaman is dead, and it is like bleak, and it's a shame.
It's the Infinity War of that
yes. And
universe.
Watching Justice League and knowing, why are you doing the team up movie first without doing the individual, seemed like such a bad idea. But if they were able to do this, I think it really would have worked. And it's kind of a shame that we're not going to see it. Maybe they'll animate it or something, but pretty much the Snyderverse is dead. But our movie review is the channel. It's called What Happens in Justice League 2 and 3. I highly recommend it if you like Zack Snyder's Justice League.
I only have one follow-up question.
Yep.
How do they... I mean, is it just glossed over? Like, how does the kid become the new Batman? Is it just like Gotham needs a defender, so because we're all superheroes, we just train you in superhero shit? Or like, does he go to the League of Shadows?
It doesn't,
matter.
It doesn't say
go
anything like that. It's just kind of like, we need a Batman. Flash forward 12 years, and you see him dressed as Batman. So I'm assuming they would take him under the wing, under his wing. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it'd be kind of fun, the idea of here's a Batman hero who was sort of trained with the morality of Superman as your dad. That could be an interesting character in itself. Sure. Like, I'm a more happy, pleasant, not so... Like, I still use fear as my weapon because I'm just a dude, but I imagine he still has Superman. He's just a kid. He doesn't have superpowers. He's just a kid,
yeah.
But my dad was Superman.
Maybe he wouldn't use fear. Maybe he would, like, call himself Batman, but he would act more like Superman, and maybe his suit isn't as dark, and maybe it's more like Moon Knight, you know, for all we know.
He's the symbol of hope for Gotham as opposed to the symbol of fear for Gotham.
Yeah.
Something, I don't know. There's a movie there, or at least an interesting comic.
Yeah. So that was interesting. Another one of my favorite YouTube channels, I'll always watch anything they put out, but Red Letter Media. I know your favorite.
I have nothing against Red Letter Media.
Yeah, you hate them because you won't watch any of their stuff.
Their stuff is just so long. I have trouble watching anything that's over 10 minutes now.
Yeah, if I see one of the things and it's like an hour and 14, I'm just like, yes. 2 hours, awesome. Just give me whatever. Well, Mike Stoklasa and Rich Evans, they are huge Star Trek fans. And I don't watch Star Trek. You know, I said in a previous podcast, my dad mocked the things I like, so I didn't like the things he liked. So I never watched Star Trek. Except the movies. He would take me to see the movies, and I was okay with that, but I never watched the show.
I've only ever seen the new Chris Pine Star Trek, so I've never seen anything else. So.
Well, they're major Star Trek fans. Super nerds, and they've had many episodes where this is our top 10 favorite episodes of The Next Generation, and then they did another top 10 on top of it. They're like, there's so much good stuff in Star Trek that it's almost harder to find bad episodes. And just hearing them and the passion and knowledge that they have for it, it's really entertaining because they could just pull up any actor who played any random character, even if it was a one shot. They know the episode number, title, and Mike is big on when they're doing their movie reviews, he'll always bring it back to Star Trek. Like, oh, well, that was very much on the original series, and they stole that, and very informative and insightful. So they did Star Trek Discovery, and they absolutely hated it. They did season 1 and 2, and they're like, we're not doing season 3. This show is absolute shit. We're not doing it. So then they did Picard season 1, and it's a very funny watch because the examples they bring to the table of why the people who make Star Trek Picard and Star Trek Discovery, they must have never watched Star Trek. They may have seen a few things and have a general idea, but they are not super fans. So they're doing season 2 of Picard, and they swore they weren't going to do it because of how bad season 1 was, but they said fuck it, and it was probably a little bit of well, we get a lot of views for these videos, sure. And so it's like they do episode 1, then 2 and 3, then 4 and 5, and so they do it in little chunks. Right now I think they just have 3 episodes for this new season. So here's an example just of something that they would say. So 2 characters in Picard are trying to find someone, and 7 of 9 turns to, I don't know her name, she's the black woman with curly hair, and goes, well, is this where the tricorder said she would be? I'm pretty sure I know how to read a tricorder. Okay? Just 2 lines. Really simple dialogue. And they break down of like, no Star Trek fleet officer would ever talk to another officer like this. They all respect each other so much, and they know their skills and what they bring to the table. They would just walk in and go, this is where the tricorder says she would be. Interesting. I don't see her. And that's it. You don't question each other's authority about what their job is.
Yeah.
And it just shows how much they just do not know.
Because isn't and once again, this is just coming from someone who's only seen the first 3 Star Trek movies from 2009 to now, like, everyone in Starfleet is essentially geniuses.
Yeah, they're all really good at what they do.
Yeah, they're all the best of the best. They're space marines, essentially. I mean, they're not violent. They're scientists, but they all have to be super smart and like take command. Like, it's the military for scientists. Like, no one's dumb or like making bad decisions. Like, yeah, there might be a command thing. Like, Chris Pine is the dumb one, but he's smart too. He's just, he has new ideas that make him kind of rogue and stuff, and he like is with he likes the ladies, but they're all geniuses. So there's no.
Yeah, and the, like, all old Star Trek would be, here's a problem, well, let's talk about it with logic and morality, and how do we figure this problem out? And this new show is more, let's just shoot everything.
Sure.
And that's all it is. The characters just yelling at each other for no reason. And it's all their reviews are hilarious. I love watching them. There should be a new one coming out relatively soon. And I will never watch any Star Trek stuff. Sorry, it's not my thing, even though I know I probably would. But I love seeing them lose their minds over how bad they have like just run this franchise into the ground. And there's like 6 spin-off shows on Paramount Plus. There's there's Discovery, there's Picard, there's the Lower Decks.
Lower Decks, the animated one.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
There's one about Pike. He's getting his own show, and then and like not Shatner, but
Nimoy.
No. Who's Shatner play?
Christ.
Kirk,
yeah.
Like they recast Kirk. Kirk's going to be in it.
Of course.
And then there's one more I can't quite remember. So it's like there's 5 spin-off shows off of Star Trek, which has, I think, like 5 original shows up until this point. And they're just milking everything for what they got. And I'm not interested in watching any of it because it's like Picard's a robot now. Did you know that? They took his consciousness out of his brain because he's an old man and he was going to die, and they put him in a robot like Data is. And so he's a robot now, but he still looks like an old man, and they put a timer in his robot suit so he will die naturally and he won't live a long life. Then why even put him in a robot suit? If he's just going to die in a few years old man style, well, what's the point of it? And obviously there probably is, but it just seems so stupid. It's like this beloved character is now a robot man. Stupid.
I mean, isn't that what they did with Agent Coulson essentially in Agents
No,
of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
he got a robot arm and he was just brought back from the dead. He's kind of more like a weird clone thing than a robot.
I mean, I didn't watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so
I mean, I think there is like a life model decoy of him, but I don't think he. I mean, that show got pretty weird as well. But hey, I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's a one of the episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the highest rated Marvel show on IMDb. Like one of the episodes is outrated anything else that they've done. So suck on that, Steve.
Pass.
Yeah, and I would never recommend Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to anybody unless you're a hardcore fanboy like I am.
All right, well, let's move on from that.
Let's move on. What else you got?
I watched a stand-up special, Gerard Carmichael's new stand-up special.
I don't know who that is.
So do you know... he's been in a bunch of stuff. But Neighbors, there was like the one black guy on the crew, and he was the one dressed as Sam Jackson from Jackie Brown, but he was doing lines from Pulp Fiction, and he was just like, the path of the righteous man. He's been the young black comedian in a lot of these comedy movies that have come out recently, and he had his own show on network cable. I forget the name of the show because I never watched it. Anyway, he's really funny, and he had this new HBO special directed by Bo Burnham. Yeah, and it was different because most damn specials, they're in a big theater and they want to project like, look how popular I am. But this was a very small venue, like maybe 60 people kind of crammed into this like small comedy club, and like all the lights were off the entire time, and he sat down the entire show. Like the special started out with like classic piano music, and he's like walking in the snow, and then the camera just kind of followed, like the camera's in the club, and then he walks through the door, says hi to somebody, hands over his coat, and then just like walks up on stage. Like not fanfare really. It was the whole show was very intimate, and because he sat down and he like took his time in between jokes, like there was very long pauses. It wasn't so much about like joke, and it wasn't like, oh, have you ever noticed this? It was all like, this is what's going on with me. Like the whole show was very personal and telling stories about like his dad, cheating on his mom and him finding out about it, and then like telling it's like, you need to tell mom, and just like all these really intimate stories that like, so it's a long stretches of like not being funny and like, oh, this horrible thing, and then he'll hit you with a joke, and it's like, so all the jokes are really good and they land really well.
He's a good storyteller.
He's a very good storyteller.
Is he the new Dave Chappelle?
No, I think this is the kind of thing Dave Chappelle does well, where it's like, I can tell a really crazy story and make it funny, but I think Dave Chappelle is just like, he hits jokes like every 10 seconds, where this is like, I'm going to tell you a 2-minute story and then hit you with a really funny joke.
Okay.
And maybe 2 minutes is maybe it's not exactly that long, but it's not about like, let me constantly make you laugh. Like, I'm going to make you think and say what I'm going through, and then as you're feeling something, I make you laugh to like sort of bring you out of it. It's kind of like a pretty interesting exercise in terms of comedians, because it's like most comedians just want to tell you joke because their job is to make you laugh. It's like, he's like, this is therapy for me and I want to make it funny, and this is just how I deal with it. He comes out as gay in the special, and he's like, yeah, the whole special is, I've been keeping things from you. Like, Gerard's not his real name. Gerard's his middle name. And so he opens up the show with that, and he's like, I've been lying to you. Gerard's not my real name. And then he doesn't say what his real name is to the last bit. So he's kind of like keeping you on edge and like kind of making you want to keep watching. It's like, what the fuck is this guy's real name? Because from the get-go, it's just like, my name's ridiculous. It's a combo from two people. So it's not like my name's Steve, It's just like, my name is absurd.
Okay.
And that's why I don't use it.
Will you tell me when the show's done? When we're done with this?
I mean, I'll tell you right now if you want to.
If we don't want to spoil it for them.
Okay, I won't spoil it, but I'll tell you.
Okay. Just tell me, and I'll cut it.
His name's Rothaniel. It's a combination of Roth, I guess, and I forget exactly, but it's like two people who is like dad's dad and his mom's dad or something, and they just wanted to like do it. So Rothaniel, and I mean, it's not really a spoiler. It's not a spoiler because the special is called Rothaniel.
Oh, okay.
So I apologize.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the special's called Rothaniel, and you find it. So it's kind of like, if you're an audience member at that show, you're like, oh man, what's it going to be? But the title of the show is his name.
Parents, think of what your kid has to go through before you name them Rothaniel. That's awful.
But I'm pretty sure, like, no one in his family calls him, like, I think, or maybe only his mom ever calls him Rothaniel. Everyone else his entire life has always just called him Gerard, because he just wanted to go by Gerard. But he was like, I think he was saying, like, growing up, I hated when the teacher would like read off my name and all that stuff. And so, but yeah, and he comes out as gay in this special. And there's funny, it was just like, yeah, and I'm dating this white guy, and then there's a bunch of black people in the audience. They're like, oh man, I just like, so he's just like, yeah, sorry, I got a Vanilla King, everybody. And he's like, I'm kidding, I would never call him my Vanilla King, but yeah, it's just, and talking about like, he came out to his friends, and his friends like were kind of upset about it. Not that that he's gay, but it's like, it's, you can't go to his friends and be like, yeah man, so I'm sucking this dude's dick, like, he can't talk to it's kind of hard to like talk to your boys like boys being boys when it's like you're blowing guys and
Yeah.
they're not, that kind of stuff. But obviously he's very close with everybody, and so I don't know. He was just saying like how coming out and everything has been the amount of support he's got from the audience, and the audience there was like clapping for him, and it's like it's all been very nice, but it's also been very my life has changed obviously since people in my life have found out. And there was another joke where he was talking about he told his dad, and because his dad cheated on his mom, he's like, yeah, man, I can't say I'm surprised. Like, I fucked up, you fucked up. It was like that kind of stuff. So it was a funny special, but it was a special like I haven't seen before.
Okay.
And it's definitely interesting. Like, Bo Burnham's a great director, and he's directed Chris Rock specials. So it's cool seeing him doing directing work for other comedians, because he's great, and I love Bo Burnham. So yeah, if you're a fan of Bo Burnham's direction or Gerard Carmichael's comedy, check it out.
And what's it on?
It's on HBO Max.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just assumed it was going to be a Netflix thing.
Yeah, don't expect to crack up laughing the whole time, but it's good.
Okay. All right, good enough. I got one last thing. Severance ended its first season. I think when I talked last about it, I had 2 more to go. I have since watched those 2. And man, oh man, this is my favorite show of the year so far. Absolutely, without a doubt. It's just so well acted and beautifully shot, even though it's really dull and boring, especially in The Office. It's just very minimal 70s office look. But every actor is awesome. And Britt Lower as Helly, she better be nominated for something. Like, Adam Scott is really great, but I think Helly is Britt Lower is a much more interesting character.
Just steals the show.
She really does. I mean, everybody does. And it's like I've said, I'm not a huge fan of. Oh God.
What was this person in?
What?
What was this person in?
Bumblebee pisses on him in Transformers.
John
Turturro.
That's where you went. Oh,
That's my go-to.
This
Not
guy's
the
the
Coen
Big
brothers.
Lebowski. Barton Fink. He's the guy who got pissed on by a Transformer.
You knew exactly who I was talking about.
I did.
Okay, sorry. The guy who was underneath the giant balls of the Transformer.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of John Turturro, which is weird because he's good and everything. I don't know why I don't like him. Maybe he's got a little weird rat face that I don't like. But
he does look like the kid from Ratatouille if he had dark hair and grew up. I could see that.
Yeah, but
anyway,
anywho, if you have Apple Plus and you're not watching Severance, you're a fool. I'm not going to spoil anything about it, but
I really do need to get Apple Plus.
Yeah, you just need to, and it's one of the cheapest streaming services.
I know.
It's like $4. It's
like $4 or $5
nothing.
a month.
So it's like if you paid for a month and you got through Ted Lasso and you got through this and you got through the park one, Central Park.
I pay for Disney and it's the one I used the least.
Yeah, I just wait until the one thing, that one new thing comes, and then I watch it, and it's like I should probably take more advantage of it, but do I really want to go back and watch old DuckTales or anything like that? Probably not.
I mean, I'll have kids probably in the near future, so like, it's going to be great for it. Yeah. They're going to be raised by Disney Plus.
Yes, for sure. There's just so much stuff on it. It's great. But it's also like I love Chippendales Rescue Rangers. Can't wait for that movie. But do I really need to go back and watch it? Nah, I'll just wait for the next Marvel or Star Wars bullshit to come out.
Yeah.
But this season finale was intense, and it's just one of those things where you're so mad at the TV. Like, how dare you end the season like that? I need more right now. I need resolution. I need answers. But
so it definitely leaves itself open for season 2.
Oh yeah,
and
it's already been approved for season 2 for them not to do it, and they probably could have wrapped it up. But you can take this in so many different directions, morally and commercially. What you do with the act of severing people, like there's a character in it who she lets herself be severed so she doesn't have to go through childbirth. So she just goes into a room, her mind goes blank, and she's the severed person, gives birth to the kid, comes back out. She didn't have to go through any of that. So what else can you do with it? Soldiers, and it's awesome. It is so good. I love it, every second of it. Though I'd say my only problem is what's her face? The Ghost Whisperer. Why am I so bad with names?
Jennifer Love.
No.
Was that the Ghost Whisperer?
Oh, was she the Ghost Whisperer?
I think that was the Ghost Whisperer.
No, Medium.
Oh, Medium. Oh, Patricia Arquette.
Patricia Arquette.
I've never seen either of those shows, but I know who you're talking about. Jesus Christ.
Ghost Whisperer versus Medium. Oh. And then the Ghost Whisperer.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess a medium would be a Ghost Whisperer anyway.
Yeah,
essentially.
But,
that would be a good crossover show, is what you're saying, back in the day?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you have a ghost, like, fucking with both of them, telling one person one thing and one person another to pit them against each other. I don't know. But Patricia Arquette's probably my least favorite because she's the boss and she has a strange accent, but then she's also living next door to Adam Scott's character to like spy on him. We don't really know why, but she puts on a different accent for that. So both accents are kind of bad. She's probably the weakest part.
Okay.
But you still
watch her be the one who gets like nominated.
Yeah,
though.
Probably.
Yeah.
But that character is necessary, and she's weird enough that you go, okay, whatever, I can deal with that.
Right.
Especially since everyone else is so good. So yeah, Severance, Apple TV Plus Prime channel.
Do you have one more? Is that it?
No, that's it.
Okay, I have one more quick thing. Something you said you watched the first season of. I watched the first season of Attack on Titan.
Oh yeah.
And once again, constantly talk shit on anime, and I still find myself trying. I was like, let me just give it a chance, and because everyone talked this show up and said, man, at least the first season of Attack on Titan is awesome, and I was like, all right, let me give it a shot, and I will say, I like it. I think it's good.
It's different.
It definitely doesn't do a ton of the anime shit that I don't like. I mean, the animation I think is fantastic. Like
there's some bad animation in later seasons.
I mean, the way the omnidirectional, essentially making them Spider-Man through the city streets, like that stuff is cool. I don't know exactly how it works. It's a little absurd, but anime shit, it's fine. And the Captain of the Scouts, Levi, and how like good he is at like slicing down Titans, fucking cool. Very really great action sequences. It's weird because of how stupid these Titans look, but in the same way, how stupid they look makes them scary as
just
fuck.
Flopping arms, running at you.
Yeah. Like if it's so absurd, but still so terrifying. So that's really
and the fact that they don't eat you, they don't digest you, they just want to chew you up.
Their sole purpose for being is to murder humans.
Yeah.
And when they get their fill, they puke you up and they go try and eat some more humans, which. Super cool.
Yep.
And the mystery of like where they came from or why they're here, it's like all.
Do you know?
I know bits and pieces just from other sources and overhearing.
Because I don't know if it's the same in the anime, but like I had watched the live action part 1 and 2.
I was there with you.
Oh, okay.
I must have, but I also didn't want to watch it with you guys when you did watch it, so I think I just kind of tuned out.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's the same reason, but it's different. That's for sure.
But yeah, there's no over sexualization of like children. There's no like one character who's always just like like constantly crying and like
I got a crush on the head leader of the team.
They're not doing the stupid thing where there's like someone says something stupid and they're embarrassed and they like fall over sideways,
bleeding from the nose.
Like everyone makes like smart choices, and even though they're all still teenagers who are in this army, but it's like, yeah, there's teenagers in the army now. I think it takes itself very seriously, and I also love how fucking dark it is. Like everyone, like how brutally everyone's getting murdered. I mean, don't get me wrong, like I don't enjoy stuff just because of the violence or anything like that, but when they're fighting these giant killer monsters, like these monsters like not holding back, like they will chop you up. Or the first season you deal with the female Titan who's like smarter than other Titans, and she's just like she's grabbing people's wires and like spinning them around like a jump rope kind of thing or whatever, or
smacking them into trees,
like really awful or really awful stuff. And it makes it hold weight. It makes you feel like any of the main characters can die at any moment, and I think it's one of the best animes I've seen, and I don't hear lovely things about the middle seasons. I hear season 4 is pretty great right now, but I don't know if that's just people who are into Attack on Titan or they're just going to love it regardless. Yeah. So I'm excited to watch season 2 and see what happens there. But I'm glad that there is anime that is good. There's only one character I don't like who is kind of the classic ridiculous anime. She's like the science. I don't know if you remember her. Her name's Hanji. She's the one who like studies the Titans, but she's like so excited whenever they like capture one. She's like, "Oh, I can't wait to study them!" And like they want that. There's a point where they get killed, and they're like, "Oh my god, my baby!" Like she's over the top, and I get that that's just like kind of the character.
I think the only character I remember being kind of anime tropey is the one that constantly is hungry, and she always has like bread hanging out of her mouth. She's always eating. And that's a trope of like, Mom, I can't eat breakfast, and they're running to school and they got a piece of toast in their mouth trying to catch the bus. It's like, and that may not be an anime thing more than just what a quirky character.
Yeah.
This woman just cares about food all the time.
But yeah, I like that there's no real comic relief. There is not like trying to make jokes a lot of time, because every episode they're dealing with like really serious stuff and like life or death situations, and even there's a character who may or may not turn into a Titan. So the fact that he can do that stuff, and like those fights are really fucking cool. Just like seeing essentially kaiju fights. I don't know. It's so far season 1 I really, really enjoy, and I look forward to more. Hopefully it just doesn't tag itself and go completely absurd. But maybe it does. Who knows? But I was impressed with season 1.
I look forward to hearing recaps of season 2 and 3 and 4, because I didn't continue, because anime, it's hard for me to commit to something like that.
And I think the show season 1 came out in like 2013 or something like that.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's almost 10 years later and they're now the series won't be over until next year. Part 3 is coming out. So it's like, I'm glad I waited so long so I can pretty much just like watch all of it, and then in 6 months or whenever it comes out, I'll just be able to watch the last season and be done. So assuming I still like the show, because I might watch season 2 and go like, oh, that sucked, and then I'm out. But yeah, if you're a fan of anime and you haven't seen Attack on Titan, check out the first season, because I'd say it's pretty great in terms of animes.
So here we are, an hour in.
Time
we finally get to talk about Morbius. Aren't you excited, Steve?
I can't wait.
I dragged Steve to this movie. He did not care to watch this. He hasn't even seen the last 2 Sony picture universe of Marvel characters. I have not seen Venom
or Venom Let There Be Carnage.
Yeah. So we went and saw this some morning, relatively empty theater. Not as empty as I thought it would be. I thought there
was like 6 people in there.
6 to 10, I'd say.
6 to 10, yeah.
Yeah, but I was expecting a lot less, especially seeing.
Yeah, because I think we went on like a Monday or Tuesday morning.
It was a Tuesday morning.
Like one of the first. Might have been the first.
It was
show.
the first showing. Yeah, because I gotta work a couple hours after that. I really wanted to record this episode minutes afterwards.
Yeah,
we kind of spilled our guts about a lot of it.
We couldn't hold it in.
But and I'm sure we're gonna forget about certain things. But I wrote some notes.
Okay.
And we'll.
I think as we start talking, it'll all start coming back to us, because it's weird that the movies that are the worst are the hardest ones to forget for me. It's like I've seen so many good movies, but like it's been so long, I don't remember them all that well.
But there are
like
certain
movies
lines
like this, it's like,
that I remember like kind of cringing at, but I can't remember what those lines were.
Well, let's just get started.
Let's just get started.
So, Ben, real quick for the uninitiated, what's Morbius about in 3 words or less?
3 words or less. Let's go. Sexy vampire doctor.
Okay.
Kind of. Yeah.
Kind But anyway, what's it really about?
So, Morbius is about Dr. Michael Morbius, at your service. He has a blood disorder, and he figures out if he splices vampire bat DNA with human DNA, we're able to, not have this blood disorder. They're one of the only mammals that like can sustain off of blood and yada yada. Dumb science, mumbo jumbo.
Sure.
So he gets some bats and he does some things and has to go out in international waters in order to do it. But he does this science experiment on himself, and he turns into a Morbius man and kills a bunch of people. We could only assume. There's no gore or blood to show that they did die. And then now he's like, oh, what do I do? I'm a sexy doctor now, but I have like this Morbius power. he has to.
You keep saying Morbius power. He's it's vampire powers. So
That's true. Yes.
based off the comic book.
But it's like vampire powers, and I guess kind of like flying, biting, drinking blood. But he doesn't. He's like Blade. He doesn't have any other weaknesses. He's out in the day. Holy water doesn't do anything. I'm sure a stake to the heart would kill him, like it kills anything.
Yeah. I mean, he's always wearing a hood in the day. It seems they never quite clarify, like if the sun actually maybe it doesn't hurt him, but it does.
Because like he finds her on the bus, they go and talk at a diner, and he goes to reach for something,
right,
and he goes just kidding. I'm not that type of vampire.
Right. Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, what's your first experience with this character? But
it was probably the animated Spider-Man cartoon.
Yeah, mine too.
Where he had to drink people's blood through the palm of his hands. He had little suckers because the comic codes wouldn't allow you to bite necks. And
which I actually think is kind of cool.
Yeah,
like, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, a vampire who has monster hands.
Yeah, he's not a regular vampire.
Yeah.
He's a living vampire. So you change it up, and that's fine. And I think they could have done something like that, but I mean, and it probably needed something a little weird because this is such a generic superhero story, science gone wrong story. It follows all the beats you've seen before. If this came out around Daredevil or Ghost Rider or Fantastic Four,
it would have made sense.
It would have fit right in. It's
and maybe even been better received because it hasn't had such other great superhero movies to be compared to.
Yeah.
I obviously we're fans of Chris Stuckman on the show, and I watched his review of it, and he, very much like you said, his review, which I agreed with, was essentially like this movie is a movie that they don't make anymore because they stopped making them in the early 2000s.
Yeah. It's funny because this year we also had Moonfall come out, and that's a movie from the early 2000s that nobody cares about huge disaster porn movies anymore because television shows can do those sort of special effects. That thrill of seeing all this stuff get destroyed is not special anymore. So we have Morbius and Moonfall coming out 20 years way too late for anybody to give a shit about.
And it's a character, like, obviously Marvel is putting out shows and movies and stuff with characters no one knows much about. Obviously more people know about these side characters now because Marvel was like, here's the Guardians of the Galaxy. You don't know anything about them? And that was like, okay, we're announcing this movie 3 years in advance so people can like read up and go, oh, okay, now I can know about this character. Like it's going to fit in the universe. Like there's reasons to get excited. I'm like, oh, how are they going to come in? Oh, they've interacted with this before. It's like, where Sony's just like, oh, we have a Spider-Man character who we can use. Let's go with Morbius.
Yeah.
Who knows about Morbius? Nobody.
What major stories happened in either Spider-Man or comics in general that involved Morbius that he was crucial? I don't know.
Probably.
None that I know.
Yeah.
Like, every character has that run where it's like, this is the defining Daredevil. This is the defining Punisher.
Yeah.
This is the best Wolverine story ever. And then Morbius, it's like, yeah, he's there.
Yeah, and he's not even like a hero. He's an anti-hero.
Sure.
I mean, he does more good than bad.
Yeah.
But Venom, to my knowledge, for at least a long stretch of time, was just a villain. But they now need.
But
to
he was only a villain to Spider-Man. He only hated Spider-Man.
But now here's two anti-hero. It's just like, so if you're going there, it's like the when they tried to make the dark universe or whatever. They're like, oh, here's the Mummy. Here's the and then, oh, we're gonna make this whole connected universe of anti-hero monster movies, which that didn't work. So it's
which
like,
I really wanted to see. But
yeah, that's a cool concept. And it's like, if you told me, oh, we're gonna take all these anti-hero people, because if Marvel's the bright shining symbol of hope, we'll do like the darker stuff.
Sure, that's fine.
That's a cool concept in itself. I can get behind that. But you're making terrible movies.
Yeah, they're just so desperate to get the Sinister Six movie that they didn't get to do in The Amazing Spider-Man. It's all they have. Like, we don't have these other characters. All we have are these Spider-Man characters. We have to do something. And it's just going to get rammed down our throats. And it's going to tarnish a lot of the good stuff that Marvel has done. Like, this post-credit scene is so dumb and so unnecessary.
We'll save it.
Well, but it just shows, like, well, we have the rights to do whatever we want, so we're gonna, even if it's at the detriment of creating a cohesive universe.
Yeah, honestly, these movies really do feel like Marvel is the smart kid in class, and then Sony is the dumb kid sitting next to him who's like copying his work, but just changing some of the answers, but somehow still getting a failing grade.
Yeah, it's a fill-in bubble thing, ABC, but he's one question behind. So everything is wrong. Maybe he gets lucky and gets one right because you have duplicates, but no, he's getting it wrong every single time.
I'm doing a book report on the Civil War. It's like, oh, okay, I'll do that too, but I'll do it from this perspective of a farmer. Like, who cares?
Okay. Yeah. It's very much like the meme of like, Mom, I want McDonald's. We have McDonald's at home.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Right. I can see that. But anyway, so let's get this started.
Let's get
so
through
the
it.
movie opens with Morbius with a ragtag group of hired helpers who are in some South American country, I think.
I don't remember.
Costa Rica, actually, I think.
Maybe.
Yeah. Some tropical Latin area.
Sure.
Yeah. And they go to this cave and set up this, what Morbius calls a bat trap of some kind.
Yes.
Where he slices his hand and sticks it through this trap that just kind of looks like a super fancy harp, because it looks like there's like just wires dangling down.
Yeah. I thought like they would like electrify and shock the bats, and then they're able to scoop them up. Or once they fly through, it creates a force field. But what did it do?
Yeah, so he slices his hand, and all the bats, I guess, smell the blood, and they come pouring out. All the guys he's with like panic and like run to the helicopter, and they just, this huge wave of bats come out, and they don't seem to attack him, and then and that's it. It just cuts away. And it doesn't.
Are they biting him? Are they drinking the blood? Are they capturing bats? Who knows?
Yeah. Because you never really see what happens, and it seems like all the bats are just running through his trap. I don't see how he captures any of them. Yeah. Anyway, we then fast forward.
No, we flash back.
Yes,
like
to
25 years?
25 years or whatever it is, 15 years.
Yeah.
And he's now a kid, and he's growing up in England, or is he in New York? And the other, because his caretaker is English and his best friend's English. But it seems like they've all grown up in...
It was all cobble streets and stuff like that, so I could only assume. But why is he there?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the specialty for people who have rare blood disorders.
Yes. So he's a kid, he's got a blood disorder, and his best friend, he makes a best friend, Milo, who has a blood disorder, and, local kids are beating him up because he's a weak, different dorky kid.
Easy pickings.
Yeah. Jared Harris is the doctor who's just like, oh, Morbius, or Michael, you seem to be a genius. I'm going to send you to New York, where you can study at wherever. Yeah. You'll grow up and do great things, hopefully. And Morbius is just like, I'm going to grow up and cure these blood diseases.
And then his friend goes, I'll stay behind and get rich somehow.
Yeah.
I become super wealthy from my bed. How?
So you just get a little bit of backstory on like who the friend is and who this loving father figure is to both of these boys. Who Jared Harris is great in just about everything, but it's just wasted. In this movie. He could have been played by any actor, really. Does very little for this movie. Yeah. Anyway, but now jumping ahead again,
and further from the first scene.
Yeah. Morbius is now at his lab.
He's getting like the Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh yeah, he gets the
Nobel.
Nobel.
And he tells them all to fuck off or something.
Yeah, he says he doesn't want it, and that causes the whole
because he's
problem.
The bad boy of science.
He's the bad boy of science.
You can tell he's hot, even though he's malnourished and pasty and on crutches.
And his lab partner, the beautiful lady doctor, who, if this movie was written by Dennis Reynolds, would have included full penetration, but there's none of that. Is upset with him because, they give grants and money and stuff when people win Nobel Prizes, so you kind of screwed us over on that. And
it's like, whatever. I got a rich handicapped friend. A little fun to all of us.
And you see his lab, and now he's got all those bats that he captured somehow in his lab.
I guess that cage thing worked.
He's doing work on a little girl who has a blood disorder.
Puts her in a coma.
And has to put her in a coma because she's dying.
She's flatlining, and so you put her in a coma, and then you don't do anything else.
And you never see that little girl again.
You see her once when the nurse gets killed, But it's like she's still in the coma. We don't get any resolution to that.
Yeah, which I guess that scene exists solely to show like, oh, this doctor is a good person.
He knows what he's doing.
But like, he spent his whole life trying to cure blood disorders. Like, not that necessarily like doing your job makes you inherently a good person, but like he made this character is, oh, I survived this long to try and cure these diseases to heal humanity. You didn't need that little girl, especially, and if you wanted that little girl, great, or if you use her as fodder, it's like, oh, is she going to get eaten by the villain?
Or Morbius himself.
Like, great, tempted. Yeah. There's like good stuff you can do with that, but you just put her in a coma and you never see her for the rest of the movie.
Yep.
So...
And so he has created artificial blood. It's like blue blood that has saved lives around the world, including like Tyrese is one of the cop characters, and he had an accident during war and lost his hand or arm, and his synthetic blood saved his life. So he is doing good things. I think that's what he's getting the prize for, right? Probably the synthetic blood?
Yeah, synthetic blood, yes.
Yeah. So Bad Boy of Science starts splicing vampire bat DNA, and
he tests it on some rats. It doesn't go well.
It kills
it, and he's just like gives it there's a montage, I think, scene maybe or whatever, but he's doing another test, and the test just says acceptable. So it's like, oh, this should work according to this computer. Yeah.
Well, the rat doesn't die. The rat dies, but then it comes back, and she's like, oh, it works. What happened to that rat? Did he turn into a vampire rat? Was he a Morbius rat?
He just couldn't drink enough blood. They forgot about him, and since he didn't have blood to drink, the rat just died. Yeah.
Okay. Which I want to get to eventually when it comes to what blood does for Morbius. But look, one thing at a time. So yeah, he's in international waters. He's doing this test
because all this stuff is illegal,
super illegal,
off book.
And I think if you're a scientist, you should be allowed to test on yourself. If you are willing to sacrifice your life, that's fine. I think it's like euthanasia. If you want to die, you should be allowed to die. Why should you suffer with any sort of disease? If you want to be put down, go for it. If you're a scientist and you're doing crazy experiments and you need to test on humans and you're willing to do it to yourself, cool. Totally legal. But that's as far as you can go.
Yeah. I guess the problem with that is you test on yourself, and if you die, like the test goes wrong, like what if you were testing some sort of, like you had this chemical or this disease or whatever, and you test on yourself, and the goal was to eradicate it, but it just made it worse, and now you're dead, so no one can stop it, and now like another doctor can come in and like, oh no, he's dead, and like that's like, I'm sure there's more checks and balances we don't really realize. So like I'm glad there's checks and balances in the science community, as there should be, because sometimes just because you're willing to make the sacrifice doesn't mean you should.
Yeah. All right. So he does it, and it works. He doesn't die.
He doesn't die, but he clearly
is
not okay. And then one of the mercenaries comes in and is just like, "Oh, hey, baby, what you guys doing in here?" And then he's just like gone.
Yeah. Clinging to the roof, probably?
He was clinging to the ceiling, and they go into the cage, and he's full-blown vampire mode, and then just kills every guy on the boat.
Except Dr. Lady.
Also, I understand, like, you had to hire sort of goonish dudes to go out in international waters, but I don't know if you really need to hire, like, mercenary, with guns. Yeah, because
I hired guns.
It just seems like, oh, we need guys with guns to do this action sequence, which I get. But they're like, if they're doing science experiments, like, who are they defending against? And if they're like, oh, well, we're just like gnarly dudes, and we just keep these guns on us because in case the cops show up and we need to shoot our way out. It's like, you don't need to hire these kind of guys. Like, I feel like you could just, if you paid, like, obviously they needed a big boat to like have the lab set up.
Crew to run the
I just
boat.
Feel like there's probably dudes you could hire who do shady shit who don't need to carry M16 with them.
Yeah. And I could get if it's like, oh, we're off the coast of Somalia and pirates may come after the boat. We need to have hired guns. Okay, fine. Yeah. But they are off the coast of like Massachusetts or something. They weren't that far from America.
Yeah, I mean, I think the boat crashed in the New York harbor.
Yeah, I think it's like, since that's where his thing is, it just went out and then back.
So anyway,
it doesn't make sense. It's only there so
they can shoot at him.
They could shoot at him. You could see the sparks paying off the pipes and smoke going everywhere, and he could just like pull someone's throat out, in a completely bloodless, goreless manner. So yeah, but now he's hot. He's got 6 vampires. Are the thing we know the most about vampire bats is their 6-pack abs.
Yeah, vampire bats are fucking cut, man. Yeah. Like sexy as all hell.
Yeah, of all the
there's a reason
rodents.
Dracula was fucking.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Why vampires in general? They're just you don't need the hypnotism or anything like that.
I don't know why Steve Rogers tried to get the super soldier serum. Just get bit by a bat.
Yeah.
And it would have had the same effect.
And we've known from the last few years that bats are very safe to work with. Mm-hmm. And you could let them bite you, you can eat their meat. It's totally fine. Mm-hmm. China does
Guano
it all the time.
Is apparently a thing.
Yeah. Bats totally first thing if you're stuck in the woods, eat a bat. Because you'll die really soon. Then you don't have to worry about being stuck in the woods.
So yeah.
So it's hot. And Lady Doctor is just kind of like, this is dangerous. And his friend is like, yo, it worked for you. Let me get some of that bad juice.
He doesn't want to give up the cure in quotation marks because he's like, it's not a cure, it's a curse. Like I'm turning into a horrible monster. Like I've killed people. I don't want that for you. It's like, well, how come you I don't care. Like you're gonna live and I'm just gonna die soon. Yep. Like that's dumb. Like I'm willing to take that risk. And he's just like, no, dude, like you don't
want this.
You don't want this, man. You don't want this, Dewey.
I think I kind of want it.
It's non-habit forming. It's the best drug there is.
Is it a weird sex thing? It makes sex even better. So then we get a little montage of him learning his powers. Well, he first goes into his tube of bats and he talks to them because they're family now. They're like his brothers.
It doesn't actually talk to him, but they just accept. He's like, they accept me as one of their own.
Yeah,
which is absurd, but okay.
Yeah, sure. But it's rapid fire, I have echolocation and I could jump high and look, and I'm hanging upside down and I am super fast. It's just whoa. That was such a Daredevil montage when he's a kid and after he gets blind and ooh, my senses are heightened, and he's sliding down pipes and doing all. It was just, let us discover the powers with the character as they're out in the world, not just a 2-minute look at all the crazy stuff I can do because we just want to pull this out of our ass later. Yeah, which they do. He pulls out a crazy power at the very end.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
But we'll get to that. And the other thing is sometimes it can be kind of tacky, but I think you should see a hero kind of fail at their powers.
Yeah,
but if you just want to keep the pace going, it's we just need to get through this movie as fast as possible. She's like, okay, well, there's the montage, and now he's just good at it. But one of the charming things about watching the first Spider-Man movie and him testing out web swinging, it's who's gonna be good at web swinging from the get-go? And you see him smash into a wall, and that's a fun scene, and he doesn't know how to summon the web. Where Morbius is just you could argue it was well, animals are born, they just know how to do stuff. So it's there's just this natural animalistic instinct that I have to know how these powers kind of work, and and I'm a scientist, so I can run the test on whatever. It's just it just went by so fast, and it was boring.
So let's talk about his powers before we move on with the story. His main thing is he's really fast, and he kind of almost Nightcrawler teleports. It's all with a puff of smoke.
Yeah, it doesn't help that it's a puff of smoke.
Yeah,
I will say I do like the visuals of it.
It's not a bad effect, but it really feels like we can't do the Daredevil same echolocation thing, so we need to do something else. Smoke? Sure, why not? Well, wait, we already used the smoke for the flying and the running. Fuck it. It's just smoke powers.
I can deal with the smoke effect for the echolocation just because you want to do something different other than the sonar thing and that you've seen in the Dark Knight or that you've seen in Daredevil. So that's fine. And I'm okay with the smoke aspect of seeing him fly because there's a scene later where he kind of figures out that he can fly, and you kind of see the it almost looks
The
like the
air
wind
currents,
currents going over him. So like, because sometimes people just fly, and it's like, how does
he
flying
doesn't
work?
fly like Superman, where it's just like I have control over my body.
It
it's
seems
just
like he's riding waves.
he's like
air.
a plastic bag from American Beauty, just flopping around.
I mean, Jared Leto is like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
That's a funny joke of seeing Jared Leto just getting like swirled around in a grocery store parking lot and just watching him going, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
So I like
Get on that corridor crew. I can see.
His just like super speed smoke that just looked like crawlery, I didn't like. That seemed weird. So I wasn't a big fan of that. And of course, you just need super strength and all that stuff, which is because like bats are known for their super strength as well.
Yes, they lift like crazy.
Yeah, that's how they get so cut because they're just when. I mean, they're doing crunches and they're hanging upside down all day.
Yeah, that's how you get the six pack bat abs. And so while we're on powers, let's talk about blood. Okay. So he makes the synthetic blood, and he's able to like keep his Morbius side down, drinking the blue blood. But it's not working as well. What would last 6 hours is only going to last like 4, and it's going to diminishing returns. And he needs to like drink real blood. But it almost seems like when he drinks, like when he's weak, he needs blood so he doesn't die, because it's like he's reverting back to his sickness. But also when he drinks blood, he turns into a crazy monster man. It's like it takes him to the extreme, and it also quenches his thirst. It doesn't seem like, okay, I could only have this much and then I'm back to normal. But drinking blood is really awesome, and it tastes good, and it makes me feel good. So it's hard for me to stop. And then when I take too much, then I turn into the Monster Man. And it's him like working this balance. But it's just kind of like, I need blood and don't need blood at the same time. When is it good? When is it bad? Doesn't matter, because you could pull your Morbius out at any time. Because like he just looks at people and he growls, and his face will morph into the Monster Man. So if he could just like pull it out and fly and do things whenever, whether he's full monster or regular human, like what does the blood do? Which way does it pull him? It just seems like they don't have the answers, and it's just like, vampires drink blood, right? Yeah, okay, so that's the cure and the cause of everything.
The blood stuff was it didn't seem like they just put a ton of thought into it. It was like, it works and when we need it to work, and it doesn't when we don't need it to. And so then you have what I was worried about, but I understand why they do it in this classic thing of, all right, who is the hero's villain? It's going to be the same. It's going to be that character and that character's powers, but they're bad.
It's Ironmonger. It's Killmonger. It's, Red Skull to a certain degree. Thor has Loki. Like everybody just has a villain that is they're opposite but similar.
Yeah.
Unlike like Batman, who has the Joker. Joker can't really fight. He's more cerebral, and he's an agent of chaos, and Batman's supposed to be like an agent of order. So they're like different enough of a similar coin. Whereas, most Marvel villains are just
carbon copies of
It's just the same thing.
So Milo steals the serum or whatever.
Because he's only got like 3 of them left or 2 of them left.
Yeah, and he becomes a Morbius monster.
He becomes a Morbius as well.
So we're just gonna
Milo Morbius.
As we're gonna call him.
Yeah.
And but while it seemed like there was a montage of Jared Leto learning his powers, it just seems like Milo instantly knew how to like do everything and control his power, and like even if he was ravenous, he like was still cognizant of what was going on, because it seemed like anytime Morbius went full-blown vampire, he kind of was like, wait, what did I do? Or Milo just like, I guess because he embraced it, he's like, oh yeah, I remember what I did.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to kill those people, or whatever.
And then he kills that nurse to frame Michael Morbius?
I don't know if it was to frame Michael. I think it was just a happy accident, because I don't think there was...
Why kill that person?
It was solely for the audience, us as the audience, to go like, oh wait, Morbius just killed an innocent person.
Okay.
But then later you find out it was Milo, and I was like, oh, of course it was. Because the only people Morbius drinks their blood are bad guys, but Milo just will kill anybody.
And why wasn't there more of that, of him like and this is where you have the powers montage of him like staggering out of the lab, not knowing what's going on, but sees that he only wants to feed. And you do the robber and the purse snatcher in the alleyway attacking a woman, and he drops down and he's trying to do the Good Samaritan thing, but the hunger takes over and he takes out that guy, and he thinks, oh, that's enough, and the woman is scared and he's actually gonna attack her as well, but he has to pull himself back like, no, I can only do this to the bad people. But now it's just montage of powers, and he's just good at everything.
I think it would have been funny if Milo, the first time you see him use his powers, like you see the purse snatcher kind of thing, and the purse snatcher grabs the purse and starts running, then Milo comes and he's like and he runs up by the old lady and just like, hey, stop, and he turns around and she's like, oh man, he got away, and it's like, yeah, but you won. She's like, huh? And it's like, well, he's gonna be tougher for me to deal with, but you can't. I know, like, you can't outrun me, and then he kills her. I think that could have been like a fun little.
That would have been great.
Dynamic. It's like, oh, Milo is like full blown villain at this point because now he's just draining old ladies when it's like he doesn't care about stopping bad people. He just wants the easy kill.
And you would think he would want to be the one that stops bad guys because he was the one that was picked on as a kid. So like, look, I'm gonna specifically go out and stop people who did that same sort of trauma.
Yeah, because Morbius doesn't want to drink anyone's blood. He's like, I will, but it'll just be bad people.
Yes.
And it's like, well, I need to stop you because you should kill people regardless. And where do you draw the line? And you have that whole duality, but none of that comes into play.
No. He's just evil for evil's sake.
Yeah. And then, so you have these two best friends fighting each other, which, is always good story stuff. You have two characters who clearly love each other, Bucky and Steve. But Milo is obviously a bit more, I don't know. The Winter Soldier was a pretty bad dude.
Yeah.
But that was, mind control stuff where this guy's just like, I'm just going to kill people now. And then you have them have a couple fight scenes, which are fine.
Like, I never had any problem with most of the special effects. Even like the roaring and having the vampire kind of come out. That's kind of a goofy effect. Yeah. But it still was nice enough. It didn't look like the compositing was like really bad.
Yeah, I think it was all fine. Yeah, it was good. It was there was no point where in this movie where I thought the CGI was particularly bad, except for the chase sequence, which we didn't talk about, where Morbius is running from Tyrese. And he's like going up there's like this skyscraper that he just like kind of like shoots up in the middle of, and like that wasn't great CGI, but he's able to go from the first floor to like the 30th floor in a matter of seconds, and then he's on the roof, and then it instantly cuts and Tyrese is behind him, and he's like, hey, freeze. It's like, how the fuck did he get up there? And like, if you found out that like Tyrese was dying, and so he took the Morbius serum so he could do that, and he just is like, oh, I'm gonna be a vampire detective. Give me that movie.
We have a perfect explanation. So Tyrese has a robot hand in this. Did you notice that he had a robot hand?
Not at all.
Okay, because most of the time his hand's in his pocket. There's one shot towards the end where he's wearing like his no coat and his sleeves are rolled up, and you can see he has a robot hand because he said earlier he lost his arm in a war and he needed the synthetic blood. I guess when they were doing press for this a while ago, Tyrese was talking about like, man, this robot arm is going to be badass. Can't wait for you all to see all the things that I can do.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, that all got cut.
I was gonna say this movie does feel like it was 2.5 hours, and the studio was like, it's bad at 2.5 hours. Cut it down.
Yes.
Oh, it's bad at 1:44. At least we can like put more showings in.
Exactly.
So now it's an hour shorter than what it was.
So you give him this robot hand, and if this is loosely adjacent to the MCU, technology has advanced, and it could be a weird world. That's fine. You want him to get to the roof? He's got a grappling hook in his robot hand. Yeah. Boom. You solved that. Now it's a stupid plot hole of like, did he take an elevator the whole way? Did he run really fast? No, he can't do any of these things. But you already give him a robot arm. That can be worked in. His partner is just like, I'll get the elevator. You follow him. He's like, yeah, I got this. And why not?
Yeah, nah. And if the idea was, and it was just poor editing, and he was up there for a while because he like didn't want to jump because he didn't know he could fly at this point,
or he's weak, and you just give him a second where he takes a knee, takes a breath, he's doing his sonar and stuff, he needs to drink blood, just a few seconds, then someone comes through the door. I can suspend my disbelief.
Have him look weak. Cut to Tyrese running upstairs, cut back to him, and then have him burst the door.
Yeah.
And you just know, okay, some time has passed. It's the simplest editing choice.
Yeah.
But
what do we know? What do we know?
Yeah.
But so Tyrese is like kind of a nothing character.
Yeah.
And
he's barely in it, which I'm not the biggest Tyrese fan, so when I saw that he was in this movie, I was like, okay. But at least he wasn't the comic relief. I mean, his partner was.
Yes.
But that was another problem I had with the movie is Al Madrigal, who we've seen in some stuff. He's not really like a household name by any means, but he's a funny guy. Mm-hmm. Like all of his comic one-liners just didn't land in this movie. And I wouldn't say they were bad. They just weren't funny.
Yeah, they're barely jokes.
Yeah. There's a bit in the movie where they arrest Morbius and they interview him and they have him in handcuffs and he just puts down a little vial of holy water and Tyre's just like, seriously, dude? And it's like, well, you
never know.
Just in case. Because like at this point they know he's a vampire even though like they've never established.
I mean, they saw him like teleport up the building, so they know something's going on.
And I think that could have been a bit, and we talked about like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if like there was a chase scene where like Morbius is flying through the streets and he's like going between cars and they're like, we gotta get him, and because they assume he's the murderer because there's a whole subplot of like, oh, Morbius is the blood-sucking killer or whatever they have him called in the papers on the Daily Bugle, and like there's a scene where they're like driving through the streets and they're chasing him and like, we gotta get him, and then you just like cut over to Al Madrigal's character and he's got like an ammo belt of like garlic and stuff and he's like holding a stake in his hand and it's like, are you serious? Like what are you doing? It's like, you have a gun. It's like, well, according to the movies, like, this is how you kill vampires. Yeah. But, like, none of that stuff ever becomes, like, would it be, I'm not saying it would be funny, it may be a little over the top and cheesy, but, like,
it's something for the character.
It's something for the character.
And if every time you saw him, he had one extra thing. At first he has the necklace of garlic, then he has the bandolier of steaks, and then he's, has a crucifix, and you keep adding and adding and adding.
Because I feel like they eat, and this might just be my white man producer brain, but I think when he brought out the holy water, he mentioned, oh, like, this is something my grandma recommended, or like, I could be wrong, but it's like, I feel like you might have made him a Latino character so you can pull from like, oh, well,
yeah, they're all Christians.
We're all Christians, and this is not, obviously they're not all Christians, but like
in the movies they're all Christians.
Yes,
especially if it's from your grandma. Your Hispanic grandma is a Christian.
So like you might believe in like these demonic entities, and so like, oh, I'm gonna protect myself because this is what my abuela said, like, oh, you never go out at night because it's like, I assumed like that's why that character existed, to do like, he's the spiritual one next to Tyrese's like stern, like not hard-nosed cop, like,
I just follow the facts.
Yeah, I follow the facts, not the superstition. Like, make the comic one the like, oh, look at all the silly stuff I'm willing to do in order to protect myself. Yeah. And then none of that stuff works. Nope. But none of that ever really comes into play.
And then you would have a scene later where Matt Smith's Morbius is walking down the hallway and Al Madrigal just like holds up the cross and he smacks it out of his hand, and then he splashes the holy water and he just wipes it off his forehead, and he's doing all these things, and then he gets bit and then he dies. This character seems like he was purposely, it's the cop partner role. They always die, and then that gives Tyrese a little more something to go and maybe even help real Morbius stop his friend. But no, it's just nothing. Just not a character, not anything. They don't do anything in this movie.
Yeah, I don't know what purpose they serve other than to slow down the pace of the movie. It's not like really solving crimes. They don't like show up at the last minute to help. They're like, oh, okay, Morbius is one of the good guys. Let's help him fight Milo. They just like clean up after all the bad stuff goes down. Yeah. And it's like, they don't need to be in this movie.
And if you slanted it more on the detective side and trying to figure out, is this a vampire? Is it not? Is there one? Is there two? Can we trust this person or not? Like, there's a more interesting story there, but they're just there to spout exposition.
Yeah. Or if they wanted to be the first guys, like, they go to their police captain, like, okay, sir, you have the Venom stuff in San Francisco that we've seen. We've had this vampire guy who's in New York now. Other heroes might be in this world or not. It's like, this might be a good time to start a supernatural, or not supernatural, the superhuman division, and those guys become like the task leaders for like that. Like, there's something you could do with that. Would it be necessary in this movie?
Nope.
No. And I'm not saying it should be in the movie. I'm just saying like it would at least give those characters something to do or like lean towards.
Make Silver Sable part of this, and it's her task force. She's the command of some security office or whatever, and like, look, there are more and more superhero, supernatural, crazy sort of monster people showing up. We need to be a protective force. That's something that the cops can't do. And then boom, now you have your Silver Sable character, and she can be popping into these other movies as this police force.
Yeah. The Nick Fury type.
Sure, for good or bad.
For good or bad, yes.
Yeah, she could be trying to recruit them, or she's trying to get rid of them because they're, a blight on humanity or whatever it is. And we should say this is in the Venom universe. They established that thing that happened in San Francisco, you just have to assume it's that.
And
he even calls himself Venom.
In the trailer, not in the movie.
No, he does. He says, I am Venom, but he doesn't say, oh, just kidding.
Oh, that's what it was. Yes. Okay.
It's Dr. Michael Morbius at your service.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, anyway, so...
Do we have any other characters? I mean... Okay, let's say for Morbius, I think this is good casting. He looks like a vampire man. Yeah. I get it. He also looks like a sickly dying person because we've seen it in like Dallas Buyers Club and Requiem for a Dream. He's good at playing that role.
I wouldn't say he's great in this film. I'd say he's the best one in this film.
Yeah, he's not the worst.
And
he's normally the worst in everything. He's not the worst in this.
The past couple of films I've seen with Jared Leto in it, I haven't liked. He just seems to make weird choices, and I'm not into it. But he's made good movies. Like I like him in Dallas Buyers Club. I like him in Requiem for a Dream.
He's a fucking Oscar winner.
Yeah,
that annoys the shit out of me. It's like that and Suicide Squad both are Oscar winners. Don't like that.
Anyway, but yeah, I didn't dislike him in this movie. I think he was doing the best he could with the material he had. But I also think, could you have replaced them with other actors? 100%.
I said before, Ethan Hawke. This would have been Ethan Hawke's role if this came out in the 2000s.
But every other actor in this movie, actress, could have been replaced with literally anyone else.
Anyone else, yeah.
I just didn't connect with anyone. I didn't care about Milo and his plight. And their final fight was fine. But let's get into the last superpower that we haven't discussed.
Yeah.
So we talked about earlier that Morbius became one with the bats.
Because they're a hive mind.
They're a hive mind, I guess. It's like they accepted him as one of their own.
Yeah.
And so he is getting his ass kicked by Milo. And so what he does is summon a bunch of bats to do a Kamehameha wave of bats that blows Milo back. And so Morbius is able to get the cure and inject Milo, ultimately killing him. But my problem with that scene is not that he summons these bats to attack. It's, wouldn't the bats also be cool with Milo?
They didn't have that bond session in the cool tornado tube.
But he didn't summon the bats from his office.
That's true. They're just bats.
From the sewers of New York City.
Yeah, and so just because you're a dog doesn't mean you necessarily get along with wolves. So just because you're like one vampire bat doesn't mean fruit bats want to hang out with you. And there's a lot of different type of bats out there. So your buddies, it's like, oh, I have bat friends at home, and they're like, all right, you're cool, man. But even if
like all those bats were vampire bats, and he can only
I don't think they exist in New York.
Whatever. The nitpick, fine. Yeah. But it was just the fact that, yeah, I don't think bats would just necessarily... I'm sure bats fight each other and stuff and kill each other. It's like, but it's not like they're just like, oh, the boys call us, let's go, guys, and like 6,000 plus bats all like roll in squad deep and go like, oh, you need us to kick this guy's ass? Sure. But yeah, Milo was also a bat with him, and Milo did nothing to them. What do they care?
I know.
And it's just
it doesn't make any
sense. But what I pitched to you was Milo is able to blind Morbius as they're fighting
because he has kind of a screech power.
He has a screech power
that he uses like once or twice.
Yeah, and so it like throws off his echolocation, so Morbius can't see Milo. So Morbius, if this is the separate power that he has that Milo doesn't. He summons those bats, and through those bats screeches across all the thing. It kind of becomes that thing from the Dark Knight, where Morbius is able, or Daredevil, I guess, like through their echolocation, through him, he's able to see where Milo is, and when Milo goes to strike him, he's able to stop Milo and ultimately defeat him that way, because because now you're using actual echolocation to do a bat thing in a vampire movie, and it's just a cool way to like use your powers in a different way, but just using a Kamehameha wave of bats is just stupid.
A big punch of bats, which I need to bring that up a little bit later, probably doesn't hurt a superpowered person. Like, yeah, they're tiny.
Because these guys are launching each other through concrete streets down like multiple levels of stuff.
Like if someone threw a pile of hamsters on me, would I really like get knocked back and hurt all that bad?
I mean, I think you can knock back, yeah. Like, it'd be the same thing as, like, those, in Jackass when they do the giant water tank that, like, all the water shoot, like...
I don't think it would even be that strong. I think, like, a bat would hit me and fall off because they're just like, oh, wait, I forgot. They're cut. I forgot. Bats are so cut.
Yeah, they do work out.
Yeah. Probably didn't even need that many bats.
Yeah, so it was just it just seemed like a classic superhero thing. Like, how are we going to beat this guy? We summon some big, giant energy blast that we didn't know we had, and I think it would have been cool back in the 2000s. Like, seeing that would be like, oh wow, the way you use that bats was cool. But like seeing all the things we've seen now, like that, it was boring. And I think there was a cooler way to do that fight scene. Like, especially if you just, because maybe he can't, or it doesn't even have to be like he blinds him with a screech. Like, that might be part of it, but it's not like I don't think they established that they can see in the dark.
No, it would just be his echolocation.
It could have just been a thing where they're in like pitch black, and it's like, oh well, that's one that like bats don't necessarily see perfectly at night. They use echolocation, so like, okay, I'll use these bats. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, Milo busts all the lights and stuff, and he's hiding in the shadow, and he's taunting him, and and it's like, oh, can you find me? And and it's like, yes, I can, because I can use all these other bats.
Yeah, you've established you have these powers. Use them in cool ways. Real quick. I thought it was funny because I think we watched Moon Knight before we saw Morbius, or we saw Morbius and then this late.
No, we saw Morbius first.
Yeah, the first episode of Morbius, where there's a scene.
The first episode of Morbius?
I'm sorry, the first episode of
Moon Knight,
or maybe it's the second. It doesn't matter. Where he is at a storage warehouse and the lights keep going on and off in a weird way, and he's running and he's like running and the lights keep coming on in a sequence. And there's that like almost exact same scene
but
in
like
this movie.
Opposite. It's like it comes on, and then when the next one comes on, the one behind it turns off. Which that's not how motion sensor lights work at all. I mean, I guess if you have them timed to like 2 seconds.
2 seconds, yeah, which is absurd.
Yeah, I mean, it makes for an interesting effect of what's coming down the hallway to get me. But yeah, it was very similar to that.
Yeah, it was interesting to see those two sequences from Marvel things like in the same week, and one does it, I think, much better than the other one
for sure.
And I think Morbius could have been a pretty decent horror film if they lean into the horror elements to it, but since they're like, no, we need to make this an action movie, and we also need to make it not too scary because we need to bring in the kids to see this because it's it's a Marvel property, and maybe we'll bring Spider-Man in the future. It's just, so there's no blood, there's no horror, and it's just like, this would have been the movie to make rated R and make it scary and make it violent, and there's just like none of that.
It's the same with Venom. Like, you're going to have this character who likes to eat people's brains. Let's go hard R on this and go nuts. But no, R-rated movies don't make money, so everything's PG-13.
Just another example of not knowing the source material but not caring about it because it's like, we could lose money that way.
Because this is just a property to them. They don't care about the character because why does anybody? This isn't, you name like your top 8 to 10 favorite Spider-Man villains, and I bet Morbius doesn't make the cut. And I bet most people don't even list him because they don't even know who he is. So for this, it's just, this is a character we have. We're going to make it be a known thing. And we're going to hopefully this will be the one that we can have a franchise on. Okay, we got our Venom. We got our hit. We got to do another. And it's just nothing. Yeah. And next is going to be Kraven the Hunter, which I think Kraven versus Morbius, that could be an interesting dynamic. Someone, especially if Kraven was like in a Morbius 2, someone's got to hunt the crazy vampire man, but they're only doing Craven so they could just have another character for their Sinister Six.
Yeah. And, I mean, we've pitched Spider-Man movies to each other where it's like, oh, you know, you have Kraven the Hunter come in and he's hunting...
the lizard.
The lizard. He's hunting spider... Like, these animalistic, you know, characters. Like, oh, he was hunting Morbius and, you know, he's kind of like the Van Helsing of this world. You could have made a pretty cool movie. But we won't get into that. So... One more thing before we get into the post-credits and wrap this up. So we have the female character be captured by Milo, gets bitten, is injured.
She's injured and she's
dying.
bleeding out.
She's bleeding out.
We could only assume she's bleeding out since there's no blood.
Yeah. And Morbius shows up at as she's dying, and they go to kiss each other. And of all the scenes of, like, chemistry that just didn't work, the kiss that happened before, and like I didn't really buy these two together. Her like kissing him and then biting his lip and the blood dropping was low key kind of hot.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what it was. She was like, the way she just looked at it was like, oh damn, like this is the sexiest scene in this movie. Like, why is this the part? And so she like drinks a little bit of his blood from when she bit him, and then she's like, I'm gonna die. You need strength to fight this guy. Like, just do it. And so he drinks her blood. He defeats Milo. Right before the credits roll, her eyes open, so now she's a Morbius monster too.
Yes, she's Morbiless.
Oh, god damn it.
Yeah, stupid me.
Yeah. So there's your little tease for future Morbius films.
Which will never happen.
Which will probably not happen.
Do you think we'll get a sequel to this?
I mean, I haven't checked the numbers. I feel like it did okay.
Yeah, but it's like got knocked out by
we'll definitely see Morbius again, and
but it's like
something. But should we? No, I don't want to see 2. But if when 2 comes out, we're probably gonna see it together.
I can, yeah. If Morbius is in a Sinister Six type thing where they're fighting Spider-Man, I could live with that. But I don't need more of the adventures of Morbius, because what else do you do with this character?
Yeah,
he's just a guy for Spider-Man to defeat, and he's probably one of the ones that you can kill off, and no one's gonna really care if he's gone. So post-credit scene.
Let's get into it. So there's two.
Well, there's like a pre. It's like a post first credit and then a mid credit,
but there's
no post credit.
No post credit, yeah. So the first one is there's a wide shot of New York, and then you see in the sky the big purple dimension shift from Spider-Man No Way Home, and then it cuts to a jail cell, and then who is in jail but Adrian Toomes from Spider-Man Homecoming, Michael Keaton.
Why?
And he's just like, oh, what am I doing here? Like, this
hope the food's better than the place I was at.
Yeah, some dumb line. And then it just cuts.
No. Oh, and then it's just like, oh, he's going to be released from prison because they have no record for him, and he just kind of showed up. Which, cool.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Obviously, he isn't supposed to be there, but don't you hold on to him for a bit to go, how did you get in here? Let's review cameras. How the fuck did this happen? Yeah. And you're in a prison outfit, so clearly you did something wrong somewhere else. We may not have a record of you, but someone has to somewhere.
Because, like, the guards and stuff would have found it. Like, if there's no record of this dude anywhere, it's like, no one knows he's there. Like, you could just keep him in prison and make... Not that they have any reason to keep him in prison. Like, I'm sure if anyone found out, it would be a whole thing. But, yeah, there would have been some investigation. But, yeah, so he gets out of prison, and... but now the Vulture is in this world that he wasn't in originally, which, to our knowledge, he's the only character to do that, because everyone else theoretically went back to their own
could only assume
universes.
Yeah, that's why I thought Andrew Garfield was going to show up in this.
Well,
but they did it with the wrong fucking character.
So now this has established that the Sony universe and the MCU universe is loosely connected.
Very loosely.
And so then a little bit of the credits roll, and then we get a second credit sequence where you see Morbius driving some nice car through the desert. And he parks out in the middle of nowhere.
Why doesn't he just fly?
And then out in the distance, you see the lights and you hear the sound, and you see the Vulture in full Vulture gear land. And he's like, "Hey man, thanks for answering my phone call. I don't know why this is my Michael Keaton impression.
It's pretty good.
Oh, thanks, man.
And you gotta have a little more New York in it.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know why I'm here, but I have a feeling it has something to do with Spider-Man. I think we should team up and get some guys like us to team up
And do some good.
And do some good, yeah. And then cut to credits, and then the movie's over.
Morbius goes, interesting. When he should have said, who's Spider-Man?
You're right.
Because they have said, the director of this said, there is a Spider-Man in this universe. Maybe it's a Miles Morales, maybe it's a different Peter Parker, whoever. But Venom didn't know who Spider-Man was at the end of...
But I guess you could argue...
He's a journalist. He would know.
Yeah, he would know. Yeah. Especially if there's like not other superheroes.
Unless like
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man is just starting right now. Post Venom, post Morbius. He's new on the street, so he didn't know him. He didn't know of him then, but he's more.
I'm sure there's a workaround where it's just like he knew he existed, but it's just like, oh, that's a New York thing, so who cares? Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's all stupid.
I guess Miles Morales kind of could work for this, but I don't really want that. I want him.
I want good things for Miles Morales, especially after this game. The Miles Morales game is fucking great, and it's a character that everyone wants, and I don't think anyone wants to see him in this universe. No. If I was Sony, I would use him.
Oh yeah,
because it's definitely the smartest move. It's like this is a character this is a Spider-Man we haven't seen yet, outside of like cartoons in the game, and it's a character that people definitely want to see. So if we get him before the MCU, that's going to bring people in. No. I think that's the move. But I don't want them to do that at all.
No. I'd even be okay. Just give him another Peter Parker. Cast someone new. Asa Butterfield. Asa Butterfield is the new Spider-Man, and he's just the Spider-Man of that universe. If you're not going to use Andrew Garfield, just make another one.
No, I could give a shit who they cast. I don't even care if it's good casting. Cast fucking Ryan Gosling as Old Man Parker. Who cares?
Older Spider-Man would be fun as well. Or you go Spider-Gwen.
Yeah,
and that's this universe.
Well, yeah, I mean, if they're doing the Madam Web show, and we're assuming Sydney Sweeney's Black Cat, but maybe they make her Spider-Gwen. We don't actually know. I don't want her for Spider-Gwen, no. But if I could see them doing it, whatever.
And just do it, because like Spider-Gwen and Miles Morales do come from different dimensions, so you could still use them in the Tom Holland universe, but maybe it's better to do it with these characters. And
I mean, I don't know Madam Web's relation to Spider-Man. Like,
I think she was bit by the same spider that Peter Parker was, but she can see every dimension of Spider-Man.
Really?
I think. Because I think there's also...
is that how they're going to tie the MCU back again? Because she's like, oh, this is how we get back because I have a connection.
Think so. Yeah.
Oh God.
But
Sony is gonna destroy any love I have for these, and like my love's holding on by a thread at this point.
But so there is actually even a story, and it may have involved Madam Web, where there were these like interdimensional vampires who were going from dimension to dimension to kill Spider-Man because drinking his blood was what sustained him. So they were just killing all these different Spider-Men. Okay, well, here we got a Spider-Man universe. We have no Spider-Man, so maybe he already died. We have a vampire character. Like, could we do this in a different way? Could we tell that story?
And I'm sure there's a thing where Morbius works with Spider-Man's blood to cure Lizard or something or like, you know, or maybe it's like, oh, you guys fight him. You give me a vial of his blood. I'll come up with a cure that would take away his powers. You do that. Like, there's a ton of things you can do. And it's like, oh, maybe Peter's like, maybe I want that because I can just go back to living a normal life. Who cares? We're getting sidetracked on things that should or could be versus this movie that definitely should not have been.
Yeah.
Or at least been much, much different.
Yeah. I really wanted this to be worse. I think...
I did too.
I wanted this to be so trashy and hilarious. Like, I hate the Venom movies. I don't think they're a good representation of the character, and Tom Hardy is doing some weird choices with it. I don't like anything about them. They're really bad. And there are some funny parts to laugh at, like... Woody Harrelson's hair in the post-credits of the first one is just the funniest, dumbest thing. They're really dumb movies, and I was hoping that this would also be dumb. This is pretty competent.
Yeah, it's
just boring.
Yeah, it's just good enough to where I wouldn't say it's unwatchable.
Yeah.
But it's not fun enough to go, you should watch this.
Yep.
And it's not connected enough to the MCU where it's like, oh, the ramifications of this could be cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it does everything so mediocre. It's just a slog.
Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't say I was checking my watch.
No.
I thought by the time it got to the last action scene,
I think the biggest
like,
service this movie did was make it under 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's an hour and 44 minutes, I believe, if I remember correctly, which is great.
Yeah.
I think if it was any longer, it would have been like, oof.
It probably could have even been shorter, too.
Yeah. And it wouldn't have hurt the movie. Because all these MCU movies are 2 hours, 2:10, 2:30. I mean...
Doctor Strange is 2:34 or something like that.
Endgame was 3:01. So, I mean...
Far From Home was almost 3.
Yeah, I mean, these movies are long. So the fact that this movie kept it under 2 is fantastic.
Yeah. Kept it short and sour.
Yeah. So any other thoughts on Morbius?
Just a quick thought.
Okay.
This was written by 2 people, Matt Sazama and Burke Sharpless. Kind of funny that his last name is Sharpless, because this movie got no teeth.
Damn.
They have written the Power Rangers movie, Gods of Egypt,
Oof.
The Last Witch Hunter.
I didn't see that, but I imagine it's
not very good.
Yeah.
And Dracula Untold, which also has a giant bat fist in it.
Oh, God.
But it's like, if Dracula controls bats, that's fine. He's Dracula. He's the OG.
Yeah.
I never thought he would need to make bat fists, but it's weird that these characters both kind of do like this bat power thing at the end. The director is Daniel Espinosa. The only things that he has done that I know about is Safe House with Ryan Reynolds.
Okay.
And Life, also with Ryan Reynolds.
Life's good.
Life's good.
Yeah.
And I remember when it came out.
Wait, he directed Life?
He directed Life, yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Life is awesome.
That Life was actually going to be a hidden secret Venom movie. Do you remember people talking about that? Like, this is how the symbiote's going to get to Earth, and we're going to release it as Life, but then at the end it's going to be dun dun dun, oh, it's Venom. What a big surprise. And
see, that would have been like, that's the kind of stuff I think would be beneficial to these superhero movies. Like, oh, we can do spin-off movies that are essentially standalone movies that have they could hold their own without being connected to the other universe, but we just add this one little note at the end and like, oh, now it's connected.
Yeah.
Like, I think that could be a fun experiment. But then again, at the same time, I could be one of those people who's like, I would prefer it if this just wasn't connected, because it's a good movie on its own.
Yeah. And also Hollywood can't keep secrets like that. Like, they were it was just released as like, you know, Jesse Pinkman and Walter White are going to premiere in Better Call Saul season 6. Like, yeah, we know, but we don't need the confirmation that it could happen. They're going
to look so weird being like 20 years older.
They'll deep fake them. They'll make them younger. Because like Bob Odenkirk, especially after having his heart attack, he looks old now. They probably had to do some crazy makeup to keep him youngish looking, but you know, deepfake technology is pretty good, so I could see them lowering him or making him younger.
I mean, Breaking Bad premiered in 2008, and they're now their youngest versions of themselves. But I can't do the math. 14 years later, 15 years later, Jesus, it's like it, and they were old then. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked.
Hollywood is so bad about keeping secrets. Like, they can't even put a trailer on a movie without putting it on YouTube first. Like, back in the day, I went and saw movies because I knew there was going to be a trailer for it. I saw Wing Commander mainly because the Phantom Menace trailer was before it. Sure, we stayed for Wing Commander. It ended up being one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Top 3 awful movies. But, I mean, there was barely internet back then. Definitely no YouTube. So I can't see a studio going, oh, we're going to have a backdoor Venom movie, and we're not going to tell anybody it's Venom. So I don't see it ever happening, and it's only going to be a thing within a thing on a TV show, maybe.
Yeah, so the lesson we learned from here is Sony, just stop trying.
Yeah.
Sell the rights to Spider-Man. I know it's a cash thing. It's
never
going to happen, but... Or you know, just make good movies.
Yeah, just get someone.
I know it's easier said than done.
Sure.
But what part of this idea were you just like, oh, we'll get someone to write a script for Morbius. Let's get the guy who made Gods of Egypt and The Last Witch Hunter. And
no, they saw Dracula Untold, like, oh, okay, close enough. Good.
Didn't all those movies not make good money? Aren't all those movies like critically panned? Like, why would?
Yeah.
And like, no disrespect to that guy, like. Dude,
hey,
congratulations on writing multiple big budget Hollywood films. Like, if I could write shitty scripts like that, I would.
I would.
Yeah, 100%. And I'd be happy as a clam, and I wouldn't care what anyone said. So don't take offense to this, because obviously you're going to listen to this. But just like, what about the producer go like, yeah, we'll get that guy. It's just like, is it just, oh, we have him on retainer. We know he can write a script. He'll bang it out in no time. Is that it?
That's not how with a lot of directors and stuff. It's just like, we know this person can direct TV, just throw him on whatever because we just need a director. That's all it is.
But that's just like, oh, this guy, we know he can make food, but it's food you don't like. It's like, but at least we'll know it's cooked.
It's like, oh what? Yeah, he's a famous seafood chef. Great, we need a baker to make this wedding cake.
That's a better example.
That's not his thing. But he works in a kitchen.
Yeah.
That's close enough.
That's a better analogy.
You're welcome. I don't think I have anything else. I know there was like some lines that I wish... I need to start taking notepads to the theater to write some of this stuff down because my brain is gone. But I give this movie a C-. It's pretty average. It's not offensively bad. I really wish it was, but it's not. It's just a movie.
I'm gonna go D+ because, like I said, it is watchable. I think it's all the attempts to like the connection to MC and
and the stealing from Batman Begins, like
stealing from
obviously stolen,
and just like making a movie that people don't make anymore for a reason because it's not good, and like there was just didn't appear to be any love or passion behind this project. It just seemed like another money grab, which we see time and time again. So while the movie itself, I would say, is a C, for how it made me feel, I'm going to give it a D.
Okay.
D+ at best.
All right. I'm glad it has come and went. We never have to think about this movie again.
I will certainly never watch it again.
No, absolutely not. But I think it will be a good movie to point to later of when you need an example of what you do wrong, even if it is capable, you point to Morbius.
Yeah. I'm wondering if, when the end of the year comes around, because this movie we both said isn't terrible, but I feel like this is going to be possibly our Space Jam of the year. You
think? Space Jam was the worst. I mean, year. I've seen worse movies this year already.
You've watched a lot of terrible. You watch a lot more terrible stuff than I do, and Space Jam was a terrible film with like no real good redeeming qualities. Where this is not that, but I think people tried with Space Jam maybe, where like no one tried at all with this movie, and I think that's the sadder offense.
Okay, I guess the only movie I've seen so far this year that is a 2022 release that is worse would be Moonfall. But everything else is like pretty much C's and C-, C+. There's only one
I haven't
A
seen
movie.
Moonfall. I don't plan to see Moonfall. So as of right now, the Space Jam 2 award is going to Morbius until...
Is that our worst movie of the year, is the Space Jam 2 award?
Yeah, it's our first episode. It's
it makes
the worst thing we've seen that year. So I think, will it Space Jam 2? Could be. Wait till the end of the year wrap up to find out.
There's a lot of... I mean, I want to say like the Top Gun is still coming out, but I can't see that being worse. That's just going to be
I don't care. Worse.
It's perfectly fine, but I don't care.
All right. Well, hopefully, I think we're pretty much done here. You have anything else left, Ben?
I think when it comes to this movie, I think I'm done.
Great. Well, tune in next week. I think we're going to try and shoot for Everything Everywhere All at Once as the next movie we talk about.
Yep. Because I think it's Fantastic Beasts, and I don't want to find them.
Yeah, and that's a movie when I first saw the trailer, I was like, oh, that looks kind of interesting, but like I wasn't like excited for. But I've heard a lot of great things, and I've actually listened to a podcast where they interviewed the directors and everything, and now I'm actually kind of excited for it. I think it could be one of those movies that might end up on the top 10. I'm keeping expectations low, but I'm super interested in this movie from everything I've heard about it. So
yeah, for a second I thought you were talking about Fantastic Beasts, and like
no,
you're hearing good things. Yeah,
Fantastic Beasts can suck a butt.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well.
Hopefully it's playing at our...
It is.
It is?
It's at the
Okay.
mall.
Tune in next week, and we'll have that to talk about, along with anything else we might have read, watched, played, listened to.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get a little further in Disco Elysium.
Yeah, I might have beaten Disco Elysium by then.
But I don't want to talk about it until I beat it. I know that may be even longer, but...
I mean, I think it'll be a surprise if I'm able to beat it in time.
Yeah.
But it's possible with me.
All right.
So.
Well, everyone, thank you for tuning in to our 30th episode. It's crazy that we're at 30 episodes.
Alrighty.
Yeah. I mean, we're over the hump. Like 52 in a year is once a week, and we've even skipped a few.
I think people, years from now when they look back at our podcasts and they'll say episode 30 is when it really hit its stride.
I would even say our last episode, the Oscar results and Turning Red were both excellent episodes. So, yeah, once we got over 25, you get your first 25 to really iron out your kinks, get some better mics, learn how to actually edit and do things, and then it's all smooth sailing from here. Every episode will be amazing. Well, thanks for tuning in. If you want to get in contact with us, you can email us. That's WRPLpodcast@gmail.com, or we're on the Twitters. It's at WRPL Podcast as well. There's also an Instagram, same thing, WRPL Podcast. Search us everywhere. We do have a TikTok, but we ain't doing any sort of dumb dances and stuff. I just took it so we could have it.
Oh, okay,
so
great,
no one
great.
else would steal it and then make dumb videos in our name. So
yeah. I mean, if you guys want to send us dumb videos that we can post on TikTok, we'll do that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Or do you have anything you want us to talk about? I know Sonic 2 is out. We're probably not going to review that. We don't really... Maybe down the line when it's...
I mean, I might be willing to watch. I actually hear it's like much better.
It's not bad.
I heard it's much better than the first one.
Sure. I just don't care,
Yeah.
And also, like being a Marvel fan, I was a Nintendo fan, so Sonic was like the enemy to my Mario. So, bad blood there. I would say I would watch it once it's on something for free. I'm not paying.
We'll review Smash Bros. Ultimate on the next podcast because we both enjoy that game.
Sure. I mean, there's characters I haven't played. You know what an episode I would like to do? Because we did video game movies based off video games. I want to do the opposite. I want to do I want to do movies that need to be video games.
Okay.
What are the best movies that never got a video game adaptation, or maybe got a bad adaptation, and we want to see it done well? I think that would be pretty fun. I have a nice little list of things.
Okay.
All right, cool.
I don't have anything that comes to mind right away, but I'm sure we can think about it.
Well, we'll work on it.
Yeah.
We got lots of options. That could be one in the bag in case we're scrambling for.
Yeah, I need to see the Medea films into a video game series. I'd play that.
God, that would have to be like a text-based RPG, right?
I don't know.
Or is it like a Friday the 13th where Medea is like coming after you? Okay, well, thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm Ben.
And I'm Steve.
Good night.